So I'll call the meeting to order of April 15th, 2020, 6:30. Good evening, everybody. I'm going to read a preamble here for this. Good evening. As Vice Chairman of the Board of Selectmen, I'm declaring that an emergency exists. I am invoking the provisions of RSA 91-A:2-3B. Federal, state, and local officials have determined that gatherings of 10 or more people pose a substantial risk to our community and its continuing efforts to combat the spread of COVID-19.
Can you hear me any better?
What's that, Dave?
I don't know why I'm not getting the volume.
No, it's still pretty broken up there. I'll finish up the preamble here. In concurring with their determination, I also find that this meeting is imperative to the continued operation of town government and services, which are vital to public safety and confidence during this emergency. As such, this meeting will be conducted without a quorum of this body physically present in the same location. At this time, I also welcome members of the public accessing this meeting remotely. Even though this meeting is being conducted in a unique manner under unusual circumstances, the usual rules of conduct and decorum apply. Any person found to be disrupting this meeting will be asked to cease the disruption. Should the disruptive behavior continue thereafter, that person will be removed from this meeting. Please note that all votes that are taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call vote. Let's start the meeting by taking a roll call attendance. When each member states their name, please state whether there is anyone in the room with you during the meeting as required under the right to know law. I'll start. I'm Brad Harriman is present, Vice Chairman, and there's nobody in the room with me.
Dave Bowers here, present, no one in the room with me.
Doesn't seem to be any better, does it?
Linda Murray here. No one.
It was fine the other night during the ZBA meeting.
With me in the room, other than my cat, who may show up from time to time.
Hi, it's Paul O'Brien. No one's in the room with me.
Dave, can you hear us, and can you try speaking again, see if it comes through? Yeah, still not hearing anything, so we'll move on. Let's see, Mr. Pino, do we have a need for non-public session tonight?
Mr. Vice Chairman, we do under RSA 91A:3, Roman numeral 2, lowercase a, public employee dismissal, promotion, and etc.
Okay, thank you. Next on our agenda is consideration of minutes for April 1st, 2020. Do we have any comments, corrections, and stuff on these?
Mr. Vice Chairman, I do. On page 3, first sentence, under Trotting Track Road, it should say, Mr. Pinio asked for the bulk vote, item B needs to be added. And then down the last paragraph on the page, the second sentence, I believe it's incident command system, not safety.
Okay.
And that's all I have.
Okay. Anybody else have any comments or corrections?
Mr. Vice Chairman, this is Paul. I'm trying to find the exact page, or I believe it's on page 9, and it was under Mr. Muccio's report to us on the electric company. I believe that I was asking the question about greenhouse gas rebates, and I think the acronym, and maybe I just got it wrong, but the acronym I think should be Reggie, not Regis.
I think you're correct.
Thank goodness.
Okay, anybody else have any other corrections or comments? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to accept as amended.
Second.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion by Linda and a second by Paul. Any discussion? We'll call for a roll vote on this. Linda Murray,
Yes.
Paul O'Brien,
Yes.
Dave Bowers,
Yes.
Dave Senical, he doesn't hear us here, and Brad Harriman, I'll vote yes on this. Okay. Okay. Next on the agenda, reorganization of the Board of Selectmen. First item is to elect a chairman. I'd entertain
I'll
any
make
kind
a
of-
motion to, elect Brad Harriman as chairman.
I'll second that.
Dave Bowers,
Okay,
second.
Okay, motion by Linda Murray, seconded by Dave Bowers. Do we have any other nominations? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote on this. Linda Murray,
Yes.
Paul O'Brien,
Yes.
Dave Senical, if you can hear us.
Maybe
Dave
Dave should
Bowers,
maybe Dave should wave his hand yes or no. Dave Bowers votes yes.
okay. And I'll vote yes. I'll accept it. Thank you very much. Next on the agenda is going to be to elect a vice chairman of the Board of Selectmen for the term of April 2020 through March 21, which is the same term as the chairman. I didn't read that part, but that's what the terms are. Any nominations
I'd
here?
like to nominate Paul O'Brien.
I'll second that. Do we have any other nominations? Hearing none, I'll call for a roll vote on this. Linda Murray,
Yes.
Paul O'Brien,
Yes. Thank you.
Dave Senical, Dave Bowers,
Yes.
and Brad Harriman, yes.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, next is going to be assignment of selectmen to town boards and committees. And unfortunately, I don't have that list in front of me right here, so I don't know if somebody can help me through that, or do we?
Mr.
Want to
Vice
continue?
Chairman, Mr. Vice Chairman, unless there is any objection, I would move that we reappoint the same appointees to the same committees that we all had the pleasure of serving on. Unless anybody has any objection to that, I just move that we reappoint people.
I second that because we all know the
I-
committees we're working with.
I will, from the list that we have here, it has Paul O'Brien, Commissioner, Police Commission, and I think that has been replaced by Dave Senical.
That's
With
correct.
that one change, I'm willing to go forward with the list.
That is correct.
Okay, do we have any other discussion?
I'll make a motion that we keep our same committees other than the change in Police Commission from Paul O'Brien to Dave Senical.
I think we already had that motion on the floor with that, doing that one correction there for swapping
Okay, sorry,
Dave and
then I'll
Paul.
second it.
Okay. All right,
Mhm.
call for roll vote on that. Linda Murray,
Yes.
Paul O'Brien,
Yes.
Dave Senical, thumbs up if you can hear us. Dave Bowers
Yes.
and Brad Harriman, yes. Thank you, everybody. Consideration of the Board of Selectmen's rules of procedure. We have been provided the rules of procedure for review and amendments if we need any for last year. Do we have any comments or any changes we want to make?
Mr. Harriman, I'd like to make one suggestion. With all that's going on in town with the pandemic and coronavirus, I would like to put back into our agenda order public input, 3 minutes, not to exceed 15 minutes in the beginning of the meeting. We also had at one of our meetings a request from a citizen to put it back in the beginning. And I think I would like to see if the board wouldn't want to try to put that back in. We used to have 2, we removed it, and I think there are a lot of people who may want to make a comment and don't want to wait until the end of our meeting.
Yeah, I don't think that's a bad idea. I think we just probably want to keep in mind that if we get the interruptions like we had one year, that we might want to revisit that, which I assume we could do at any one of our public hearings. We could throw it on our agenda. If something happens, we could bring it up at the next meeting and revisit it. Am I correct on that?
I think when we did have a major interruption, we adjourned the meeting, so the chair could do that and then reassemble the meeting.
I think that only worked.
Yes, I believe we can at any time change our rules and regulations and order procedures.
Yep. Okay, would you like to make that a motion, Linda, to make that amendment to our rules of procedures?
Yes, I would like to move that we add a new number 3, public input, 3 minutes each, not to exceed 15 minutes, right after approved minutes. So it'll be section 4, rules of order, B, agenda.
Second.
We have a motion by Linda and a second by Paul. Any other discussion? Okay, we'll call for a roll vote on that. Linda Murray,
Yes?
Paul O'Brien,
Yes.
Dave Senical, Dave Bowers,
Yes.
and Brad Harriman, yes. Okay, moving right along. Public hearings. Our first one is application of Samuel Avery House LLC for tax relief incentives for the renovation of a building pursuant to the Community Revitalization Tax Relief Incentive as provided for in RSA 79-E for the property located at 126 South Main Street, the Samuel Avery House, tax map 218, lot 122. Do we have you going to address that, Mr. Pinio, or?
Yeah, so back in February, we received a request for this consideration. It's a very similar request to what was processed regarding the Pickering House. We've brought it in front of legal counsel. Legal counsel has seen no issue with it. We had 60 days to act upon this. So we really have to make the decision at tonight's meeting to stay within the time frame. I think it's a worthwhile endeavor to consider. And I think the Board of Selectmen has the backup information to support going through with this for consideration.
Okay. Board members, any comments or?
Any comments from the public?
There was
Did we
one
get
comment received from Maggie Steer. This is Matt Sullivan. There was one comment received from Maggie Steer by email saying that she's in favor of the Cook's application for 79E tax relief for the Avery House. But she would like to note that the facade will be significantly changed by elimination of the two-story columns, raising the roof line to make the third floor able to accommodate the apartments. Just a quick note, the proposed apartments are likely to be changed to commercial space now. And then she understands the economics and is grateful that the building is being saved and rehabbed.
Okay. Actually, I'll officially open the public hearing in case there's anybody On unless who would like to comment.
I'm fine.
Okay, hearing none, we'll close the public hearing. Board members, what's your wish on this?
If it is my understanding that tonight we need to decide whether it enhances the economic vitality of the downtown, it's a substantial rehabilitation, and improves the historic building and increases energy efficiency. And I think we have to find that in order for it to go into the agreement tonight. Am I correct?
That is correct, Linda, to my understanding as well.
Okay. Do you want a motion, Brad?
Yes, please.
I move that the Board of Selectmen declare that the Samuel Avery House LLC building located at 126 South Main Street as a public benefit to Wolfeboro's downtown because it enhances the economic vitality of the downtown, substantially rehabilitates and improves a historic building, increases the energy efficiency of said building. The rehabilitation of 126 South Main Street is consistent with the town's 2019 master plan. And I think we have to give a time frame. And if we do, I would add the tax relief period will be from 2021 to 2025 as determined in the 2020 reevaluation.
Do we have a second on that? Okay, we have a motion by Linda and a second by Paul. Any other discussion? Seeing none, we'll call for a roll vote. Linda Murray,
Yes?
Paul O'Brien,
Yes.
Dave Bowers,
Yes.
Dave Senical, and Brad Harriman, yes. Okay, do we also need to make this other motion that's at the bottom of our on our agenda here about closing the public hearing on the application?
Yes, after you've adopted that motion, you will have to close the public hearing.
Okay. Would somebody like to read that motion in for us? I'll be happy to do it. So,
Well, move to close the public hearing on the application of Samuel Avery House LLC for tax relief incentives for the renovation of the building pursuant to the community revitalization tax relief incentive as provided in RSA 79-E for the property located at 126 South Main Street, the Samuel Avery House tax map 218, lot 122.
can I have a second on that?
I'll second that.
Motion by Paul O'Brien, seconded by Linda Murray. Any other discussion? Okay, we'll call for a roll vote. Linda Murray,
Yes?
Paul O'Brien,
Yes.
Dave Bowers,
Yes.
Dave Senical, and Brad Harriman, yes. All right, moving on, we have our bulk vote next, which has our manifests, tax abatements, intent to cut. And that, so I'd entertain a motion on the bulk vote.
I move that we accept the bulk vote. Dave Bowers here.
We have a motion by Dave Bowers to accept the bulk vote. Items A through D is presented at this meeting. Is that correct, Dave?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second by Linda Murray. Any other discussion? Okay, roll vote. Linda Murray,
Yes?
Paul O'Brien,
Yes.
Dave Bowers,
Yes.
Dave Senical, and Brad Harriman, yes. Okay, next on our agenda, we have some board appointments to make tonight.
Mr. Vice Chairman,
Yes.
I just noticed as you closed the public hearing regarding the Avery House, Mr. Cook has shown up in the meeting. You may just want to give him a summary of what has occurred.
I actually heard it. I just couldn't, I couldn't respond. I apologize. I tried to do it on my phone, so I finally found a laptop. So I do appreciate the fact that the board supported us, and thank you very much. If there's any questions about the project, I know you've got a busy agenda. More than happy to speak with you individually or as a group or whatever. But again, I apologize for being late to the meeting.
Hi, Peter.
Okay, does anybody want to ask Peter any questions right now while we have him on here? I don't have a problem going back to ask a question or. So I guess it sounds like, Peter, everybody's good on that. So thank you for joining us.
I appreciate again the board's support of the projects up there, and look forward to keeping you all posted in terms of how we do. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you. Okay, now we'll move on to our board appointments. Let's see. Do we want to go through? I guess go through these individually, or do we want to? Let's see. You got the Ag Commission. We have 3 on there. Do we want to do them all at once, or should we do them individually?
Brad, we have Kurt DeValder who wants to be an alternate. He's at the meeting. I don't know whether he wants to say anything, but I just wanted to let people know he was at the meeting.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, anybody that's in this group here for the Ag Commission right now, if you are on the meeting, would like to say something and speak to us, now's your time.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
I can hear you fine, Kurt.
This is Kurt DeWilder, and I would like to be considered for the 3-year term of alternate member of the Ag Commission. And I'm very interested in agricultural issues in the town. I'm running my parents' farm, the Wilder Farm. We're opening May 1st, and just very interested in being part of this and helping any way that I can. So Amy had asked me to join the meeting, which I appreciate her sending me that email, and I'm happy to answer any questions for you if you'd like. Otherwise, I just ask that you consider my appointment. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, thank you, Kurt. I really appreciate your volunteering to be on the board here. So I'll just list out the names here to everybody so we know who we have. We have David P. Rogers applying for a member for a 3-year term. Kurt DeWilder is an alternate member for a 3-year term, and Sarah Silk for a member for a 3-year term. So that's our list for the Agricultural Commission. So I see Dave here. Is your audio working yet, Dave?
I have no idea.
That sounded clear.
Okay, then I guess I'm here.
Yes, you are.
After the computer decided to update everything, once I turned it on. Jeez.
So did it update you?
No, I'm still upset.
I'm going to get an email from him tonight about the computer and the network he uses. I'm just going to.
Yes. The goddamn T-Mobile.
There you go. Here it comes. There you go. Thank you.
There it is. Yeah. So Dave, do you want to take over now from here on?
Oh, go ahead. Keep going.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess what I'd do is I'd entertain a motion to nominate these 3 members, Dave Rogers and Sarah Silk, to 3-year terms, and Kurt DeWilder as an alternate for a 3-year term.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Linda Murray and a second by Dave Senical. Any discussion? Can I call for a roll vote on this? Linda Murray,
Yes.
Paul O'Brien,
Yes.
Dave Bowers,
Yes.
Dave Senical,
Yes.
and Brad Harriman, yes. So thank you to the three of you folks. If you're all listening, if Kurt, if you still are, thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Next is our,
Can I leave this meeting.
yep, thanks, appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye. Next one is the Economic Development Committee. We have Kathy Tatro is a member for a 3-year term. Does Kathy happen to be with us tonight? There she is.
I am.
Anything you'd like to say to us?
Well, I'd just like to say that I've been a part of the Economic Development Committee for a little while now, since I started at the Lakes Region Technology Center. I sit in on all of their meetings to help put together and implement the master plan for the town, and have really enjoyed that work and look forward to continuing it. We've lived here in town for 22 years, I think now. This has been a good avenue for me to put forth some of my services and help out the town in a way that, you know, moves it forward. Looking forward to continuing in that role.
Okay, thank you, Kathy.
Welcome.
Let's see, any board members have any questions or comments for Kathy right now, or we'll go right into a motion?
I'll move that. I'll nominate Kathy Tetro to a 3-year term on the Economic Development Committee.
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Linda Murray to nominate Kathy Tatro to a 3-year term, and seconded by Dave Senical, all to the Economic Development Committee. Call for roll vote. Linda Murray,
Yes.
Paul O'Brien,
Yes.
Dave Senical,
Yes.
Dave Bowers,
Yes.
and Brad Harriman, yes. Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kathy.
Next one is the Energy Committee. We have James Knupp as an alternate for 3 years. Does James happen to be with us tonight? I don't see him. Any comments, or would somebody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve James Knupp to the Energy Committee for 3 years as an alternate.
Second.
We have a motion by Dave Senical, second by Paul O'Brien, to nominate James Knupp as an alternate for 3 years to the Energy Committee. Any discussion? Roll call vote. Linda Murray,
Yes.
Paul O'Brien,
Yes.
Dave Senical,
Yes.
Dave Bowers,
Yes.
Brad Harriman, yes. Next is our Milfoil Control Committee. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 6 people here to nominate here. I'll read down through the list here. Susan Goodwin, for a member for 3-year term. Kathy Barnard, a member for 3-year term. Mark Martin, member for 3-year term. John Russell, member for 2-year term. Thomas Orapka, member for 2-year term. And Rebecca Bartlett, member for 2-year term. Are any of those folks with us tonight that would like to say anything, comment, or anything? Thing is, none of them appear to be with us tonight. I'd entertain a motion for this whole group here as the terms as I've just read them.
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Linda Murray, second by Dave Senical. Roll call vote. Linda Murray,
Yes.
Paul O'Brien,
Yes.
Dave Senical,
Yes.
Dave Bowers,
Yes.
and Brad Harriman, yes. Next one we have is a Heritage Commission. We have 2 members here to vote on. Dave Bolduc for a 3-year term, and Vaughn Dugan, member for a 3-year term. Are there either of those folks with us tonight? Seeing none, board members, any comments or a motion to approve them?
I'll make a motion to approve 2 of them as listed.
Second,
We have a motion by Dave Senecal and a second by Dave Bowers to approve the 2 members as I just read for 3-year terms to the Heritage Commission. Any discussion? Roll call vote. Linda Murray,
Yes.
Paul O'Brien,
Yes.
Dave Senecal,
Yes.
Dave Bowers,
yes.
and Brad Harriman, yes. Next on is the Cable TV Advisory Committee. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 members here on this one. I'll read through them. It's Marshall Goldberg, member for a 2-year term. Lynn Hinchy, member for a 2-year term. David Wells, member for a 2-year term. And Peter Schneider, member for a 2-year term. Are any of those folks with us here tonight would like to speak?
Mr. Vice Chairman, I move that we approve the list as nominated.
I'll second.
There are a motion by Paul O'Brien and a second by Linda Murray to approve the list that I just read for 2-year terms to the Cable TV Advisory Committee. Any discussion? Hearing none. Linda Murray,
Yes.
Paul O'Brien,
Yes.
Dave Senecal,
Yes.
Dave Bowers,
Yes.
and Brad Harriman, yes. Okay, that takes care of all of our committee membership appointments. New business, emergency management status report. So Mr. Pinio will handle this, or is Norm on with us tonight?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman. So we do have the Emergency Management Director with us this evening. I got to tell the community the work that this team of emergency management has done is excellent. There's been a lot of collaboration, a lot of difficult work, a lot of unique planning. As we've identified in the past, we do have a playbook, the Emergency Operations Plan, which gives us a basic template for how to deal with a pandemic. However, that template is only a basic part, basic component of this process. And I got to give credit where it's due. Chief Scanzi has done a phenomenal job in leading this charge, as has Shelley Rondo, our health officer. So without any further, I just would like to hand it over to Chief Scanzi and thank him for the fantastic work that he's done.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And I know that the rest of the group that's participating appreciates that as well. We've had excellent participation by all of the departments throughout, and those that have been assigned to the incident command team have attended all of the meetings, have done all of the assignments, have come up with the ideas. And, you know, it's true, we're following a plan. It's a plan the town's had for a long time, most recently updated in 2018. A lot of times, in a lot of towns, we talk about how the plan, you know, doesn't always get exercised. We certainly know, and when we go to revise this plan, how the plan's working and what things we may look at going forward. But it's been a great plan to walk into, especially having not been part of that planning phase in 2018, to walk in and many of the people who were involved in that plan are on our ICS team right now. So they were familiar with it. They made it a point to become familiar with roles and positions. And so that's really where the credit's due. The Emergency Operations Center continues to be activated underneath the federal, state, and local emergency declaration. There is an incident action plan that's in play, and it's in addition to the emergency operations plan, we have basically a work period plan that we develop every week that talks about what our goals and objectives are going forward for the week and deals with the problems that crop up during the week. It's very much a slow motion emergency. I think a lot of times when we look at emergencies in a town, they're weather related, things that happen fast, they come and they go quickly. And, you know, a lot of it's about the damage assessment afterwards. This is a slow motion emergency that we just have to deal with just like everybody else, day in and day out. The town's EOC is located in the town's public safety building. But in this particular instance, because of social distancing and because of the aggressive nature of COVID-19, we initially and continue to operate like we are right now tonight in an electronic virtual ICS reality. And I have to tell you that I think it was a learning curve for most everyone participating, but it's now a tool that we can use going forward that we did not have before, other than in one department in the town using it regularly for meetings. We now can use it across the board, which is, I think, good. I think the other good thing is that that came out of this emergency is it forced all of us to operate in this realm on almost a daily basis and to get to know each other as emergency managers and leaders. And I think that the results have been excellent. Although the regular town government is still operating just like it always does, there have been some modifications to town operations. You have to call the offices. A lot of the buildings are closed. We're wearing protective equipment when we go into the buildings, and those things have changed. Some staffing have changed. Some of the department heads have been creative and split shifts, made teams. They had mentioned the electric department operating with 2 different teams, so that if one team, you know, if somebody was sick in one team, there would be another team available where they're working together. The same thing with public works, splitting the crews up, working in different buildings, putting one person in a truck rather than having people together. There have just been a number of things that have been modified in all of the departments. So regular town government activities continue on as they always have. The only thing that the EOC is up and running for is to deal with the specific COVID-19 emergency. We're not running the town. We're just advising the selectmen on the operations as far as they relate to COVID-19. The selectmen and the town manager, as always, are completely in control in running the town. The issues and decisions the town's incident management staff is making are derived from input that we get and from working together and, you know, and looking at what the data is that's out there. We know that in New Hampshire, there's been 1,091 COVID-19 cases. There has been approximately 329 people, or 30%, who have recovered. There have been 27 deaths, and there currently are 63 hospitalizations related to COVID-19. Persons tested negative at selected laboratories is over 10,000 people, and persons with tests pending are approximately 73, and persons being monitored in quarantine are 2,250. That's an important number. I think that's what's really been the success of this is the action by the citizens with social distancing, staying at home, quarantining when appropriate, and reporting symptoms when symptoms happen, and then getting tested if they meet those qualifications. We have had interaction with the state EOC on a daily basis through our emergency management department and executive assistant for the emergency management department. We've been in close contact with them. We've developed resources. Some of the resources that we have developed have included, and this is also in conjunction with the Carroll County, help me out, Matt, Carroll County, Jared and his crew.
Sorry, Chief, I'm not sure which you're referring to.
Public Health Network. I'm sorry.
Carroll
Public Health.
County
Okay, I'm sorry.
Carroll County Coalition for Public Health.
Thank you. Thank you. Who have been very instrumental in us being able to develop a off-site surge a hospital, basically, that we've set up and is in place at the high school arts building. We're capable of taking on a surge if the hospital exceeds, I think it's approximately 50 patients, which is much larger than their normal surge number, which I think was 23 in the past. They've increased it to in the 50s. And then after that, we have surge capacity. So far, there's been no signs of activating that other than the planning of it. And we have been working with Huggins Hospital on trying to develop volunteers and other people to help with that. I think Matt did a nice job recently putting out a letter to the community, to the business community, relative to, you know, how we could be helpful to them as a resource. We have tried through our public information officer, Jim Pinio, to put out regular messaging to the community. John McDonald, I just want to mention, has done a great job with public information from the state level, and we appreciate all that's being done there. At this point, our objectives are to support readiness of the alternate care facility that I spoke about earlier, investigate the efficacy of a second alternative care facility. When we thought about the surge numbers and looked at the numbers a few weeks ago, we felt it was important to have a backup to the backup. We also came up with an emergency plan for evacuating the ACF if that became necessary. So we've done more planning than anything else, but with good planning, if something happens, we'll be able to meet those demands. We have secured protective equipment for all of the departments in the town and stocked PPE. We also are working with Huggins Hospital to provide them with PPE through the state and through other private resources. We've also had a lot of donations, and they're all appreciated. The EOC staff has become familiar with the operations order, which was written by our operations section chief, Dean Rondo, so that when the time comes, we will be able to all work collectively to put that up and make that up and running. And we just continue our situational awareness, getting feedback from what's going on in the community, encouraging people to do all the things they already know, you know, the hand washing, social distancing, not being in groups. You know, it's really tough. We don't know how long that's going to last, but we certainly know that everybody is making those efforts and the community appreciates it. That's basically my report. If there's any questions, I'm glad to answer them.
I'd just like to reiterate what Mr. Pinio said, that you guys are doing a tremendous job out there, and the information that's flowing back to us and to the whole town is absolutely great. You alluded to John McDonald's daily reports he puts out there, which have been very informative and stuff. And we get our daily reports from Mr. Pinio and stuff, updating everything that you're doing there and stuff. And again, just want to thank you for all the work you and your whole team are doing there out there.
I really feel our role is a supportive one. We're looking at the firefighters, EMTs, police officers, and the hospital staff who have really been out on the front line, and hopefully our effort as an EOC is supportive of what they are doing, and giving them the tools they need to do their job. So they're the ones that are really doing it.
Any other board members have any comments or questions? Again, thank you, Chief. Another great job, and hopefully this is coming to a conclusion soon for everybody. So. Anything else to add to that, Mr. Pinio?
Oh, I think that the chief has summed it up excellent, and we are continuing on with our planning, and him and this team have really excelled in this pandemic. I was going to say exercise, but it really isn't an exercise. It's a real life problem. So, you know, as far as the citizens are concerned out there, you know, if you have questions, concerns, you can always reach out to us via email or telephone, and we'll try to answer the questions or concerns that you have. The big thing at this point is people, please just continue to maintain the social distancing, continue the good hygiene, and if you have the opportunity to wear a mask out there when you're in public, do it, because we need to stop this so we can get back to regular life. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, next on our agenda is the non-judicial settlement agreement, the Josiah W. Brown Trust. Mr. Pino, are you going to present this to us and update us a little bit more on it?
Yeah, so this is the settlement document, non-judicial, regarding the Josiah Brown fund. It basically outlines some parameters for the trustees to be able to follow. And all we really need is the board. If they have any questions, we can reach out to legal counsel. There are no flags thrown on this. And if the board is so inclined, we'd really appreciate getting this signature done so that this can be executed.
I guess my one comment on this agreement is related to Brown Hall that Brewster has, and giving Brown Hall to Brewster Academy with all the requirements that are in the trust. It is different from the Josiah Brown Trust that we give the scholarships from.
Do you need a motion from us, Jim?
We do need a motion and the full second and vote.
So I'll move that the Board of Selectmen sign the non-judicial settlement agreement dated March 11, 2020, as recommended by Town Council.
I'll second that.
So we have a motion by Paul O'Brien and a second by Dave Senecal to sign the non-judicial settlement agreement. Any other discussion from the board members? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Linda Murray,
Yes.
Paul O'Brien,
Yes.
Dave Senecal,
Yes.
Dave Bowers,
Yes.
and Brad Harriman, yes. All right. Next on our agenda is a capital projects update from Public Works. So Mr. Ford is joining us tonight for this.
I am here. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, Dave.
Yeah, we can hear you, Dave.
Great. I have the report set up. Hopefully everyone has a copy, starting with the projects that were just approved in 2020. First one, going down by a year and then by article number 11, Cary Beach parking lot with a budget of $450,000. I meeting with Underwood Engineers next week to finalize the engineering to prepare the construction documents with a schedule to have it ready to go out to bid by the end of the summer. We have already got a shoreline permit application submitted, and we have a couple of major issues to deal with regarding septic. One being on a private property owner, which we've started some communications with, and the other is the town septic system. And I'm proposing to remove it and just use porta-johns and to minimize any environmental impacts from the area. In addition to all the major work on the is the stormwater treatment, which is we've had discussions about, and that's moving forward with all the stormwater treatment. So that's where we're at right now. And again, we were planning on getting the engineering ready. Something I wanted to mention, and this relates to a couple of projects. The state has put out a request to know from towns shovel-ready projects. The stimulus package may come with money for infrastructure, and the state is making a list. So this is one of the projects we put on the list. We might be able to get a grant because it is stormwater treatment. And so I think we want to move forward, at least with the engineering. There was some concern about revenues and whether we should go through with the construction. We have a few months to make that decision. So right now we're going forward with that. Any questions on Carey Beach?
Yeah, I do. I understand you're going to put in, high quality porta johnies. Are you going to take the toilets out of the existing bathhouse and make it just a changing station?
We are going to be in discussions with Parks and Rec Christine, the state, and internally to see if we can save these toilets and use the tank as a pumping chamber. So not, take out the leaching field, but potentially save the holding tank, which would be 1,000 gallons, and use low flush toilets. It would be nice to keep that building, but not the septic, not the leach fields we're going to remove.
Okay, thank you.
And Dave, this is Paul. Thanks for keeping this thing going. So from where you are in terms of your bid documents going out, are you on your schedule? This was already always anticipated to go out late summer, right?
Correct. I would have issued the contract, but I just, we've been talking about the concern with the national crisis. And I think Jim and I have talked about probably want to go forward with the engineering, get these projects ready and teed up to go out. And if things get really worse financially later on, we can pull the plug on the construction end, but we go forward with the engineering. So this is on schedule.
And then back to the comment you made about shovel-ready projects as you go through the rest of your discussions. So I'm going to ticky mark that this one could be a shovel-ready, capable project. And just let us know if there are others on your wagon here that are shovel-ready as well, or potentially shovel-ready.
As we go through the list, I'll be telling you which ones we're going to be planning on being ready for that.
Thank you. Okay.
So with that, we'll move down to the 2020 town roads. I had a separate sheet summarizing the projects that we're looking at. Bryant Road is still the #1 and biggest project, but we feel that because of the reduction in our budget and some other issues, we would be better off doing this work ourselves and have Pine Street and Lana Street be done by the contractor we have under Lyman, who did the work on Pine Street. He is going to finish up Pine Street, finish up the overlays, and then also on Lana Street, the one section we haven't completed, we're going to grind that out and put an inlay in there and get that done. So that work is hopefully going to happen in the next month or so with Lyman. Bryant Road is, again, right now we're just getting everything set up. We haven't issued any contracts in that, but I'm pricing the asphalt and everything else. North Wolfeboro and Mountain Hill Road, those are just overlays, and that's with Frank Carroll. So that I was with him today, actually going over that work. So we'll hopefully get a good price on the paving. Railroad Ave Extension, that's the one that's kind of the new one, and that comes in conjunction. I don't know if we've had this discussion with the board, but a few years ago, Railroad Ave was on this plan, and because of the delays with the museum and the railroad station storage building, we couldn't do the work. With the vote this year, looks like the public is in support of Mr. Sims' project. He does need to have the infrastructure get in, the water, the sewer, the drainage, and the road. So I put this back in the plan, if it was okay by the selectmen, to move forward with the road layout process, first actually laying out that section of road, and then two, moving forward with the infrastructure to support the Mr. Sims project. So I'll just hold on. I don't have any questions on that.
Yeah, I think that you should send, I asked you for that design for that road. It may not be the full layout of Railroad Avenue, but 3 years ago, we did make some decisions in terms of it being two-way traffic. You brought us in 3 or 4 different scenarios for that, and I think it might be helpful for the board to see what we finally decided. You sent it to me. You should send it out to the other board members, is what I'm really saying.
Certainly, and also with Mr. Sims, he has a new layout for his ADA accessibility and ramp. So what I want to do is to get that superimposed on the site plan drawing so you can see how it works. So we'll make a little change. We'll get that out to you. But if in general, though, the selectmen are in support of moving the priorities around so we get that done this year.
I am.
I am too, but I just have a question, and maybe Jim or somebody can help us with this. So the warrant article that the voters approved, effectively said that, effectively gave Mr. Sims the opportunity to have access to those funds kind of, and I'm shorthanding it here, almost as a checkbook. My question is for us and for the public is, how is John doing raising the necessary funds to do the actual construction of the building? Because it would be nice to know that. And yeah, Dave, I support what you want to do, but it would be nice to know whether there's actually money coming in from donors to actually do the construction of the building and to do the necessary things. And it would be a good idea if we could get an update from where that stands, maybe at our next or subsequent meetings.
At one time, John was one of the most vocal people consistently on this project, but I haven't heard from him for a while.
Well, he's been busy. He's been out raising money. I just want to know whether he's got money in the bank. And, because we'll do the road layout. Dave, I think is asking us for our approval for that. But I really want to know if we have, or if he has raised the funds so that he can start the project.
I think also here, we're also dealing with a part of dirt road. We have asphalt, then we have this little section of a dirt road and then asphalt again. So for the town crews and stuff, it's good to get this whole thing asphalt.
Yeah, absolutely. This has been a problem for us, having that gravel road. It gets dusty, it's messy. We do want to do traffic calming in there. We have the condominium in there. So it's a project that we've put off for a couple of years, but really would like to get it going. My understanding was it was important this year because of they do have a big grant, the L-chip grant, and that money has to be spent this year. So I think the project has to go this year or the whole thing falls apart. And I think he has the support for it. So I think he's going strong now, but we'll have to get in contact with him.
No, I've heard, and I'm not questioning John. I've heard the words. I'd like to see the data. That's kind of where Thank you.
Okay, moving on, then Allen Road is the one that will be the last one and the one that would suffer if we go over budget, or if the other thing too is this year is going to be difficult for production. We are going to be taking 20% hit on our production with the policy now of mental health days for some of the workers. In addition, trying to wear PPE is very difficult during construction, and in terms of rules we put in about one person per truck. So I think our production is going to go down. So this plan is based on, a really aggressive plan. So we may end up not getting everything in. This is where the money is today and what we're going to be shooting for, but understand that it could change because of our situation. And hopefully we don't have a sickness go through the crew, but if we do lose people, then obviously some of this work won't get done. Finishing, we did want to do some engineering on Stoneham Road, which would be a project we'd be looking at for 2021. And then last year we spent a lot of money up in North Wolfeboro on gravel roads, rebuilding. And then we want to get working on Beach Pond Road. The O&M budget was cut, but I wanted to put some money here so we could do it. This is a section that is really down to the bones. We have ledge coming through. We need to add gravel to these sections. So I think it's an upgrade. It fits in here so we can get that done. So
Dave, I think Linda had a question for you on a couple items ago.
Yeah, it's on the town roads. I have the question is, in a column that would be helpful for us, both of our town road warrant articles are 2-year warrant articles. So that if you don't finish the upgrades by the end of 2020, it can go to 2021 as a warrant article was written. The same for the 2019. So if when you do this another time, if you could put a column in that'll tell us whether it's bonded and the year in which it has to be completed by. So the 2020 Article 15 was a 2-year warrant article. All that has to be finished by 12/2021.
Okay. I think I understand. With most of this money will be spent this year unless we decide not to spend it. We're trying to move forward, and if a project is carried over, normally we have a purchase order. But for instance, there is some money from 2019 carried over to 20, but that's dedicated to the BMP work on Partridge Drive and Forest Road and Clock Road. So we saved money from last year. That is because of the 2-year, and that shows up under the 2019 town roads. Okay, I'll just keep moving. Is that okay? Any other questions, Linda?
No, that was just, I thought that information would be helpful. Nope.
Okay. Okay, so I'll move on to recreational docks.
Yep.
Warrant Article 17 this year. I put in the money, 170,000 is what the cash appropriation was. That's to be matched with $130,000 from a grant, which we're still in the running for. So this really should say $300,000. That's how the warrant article was written. In addition to the $300,000, we have over $100,000 in the cap reserve fund. That being said, right now we are working with our engineer Duncan Miller, which was formerly with Ty and Bond. He has switched companies and he's now with Civil Works. So we are working now with both companies and trying to complete the permit applications as well as the big grant application, the big standing for boat infrastructure grant, and the final design of the dock upgrade. Again, we hope to go out to bid in phases, with the first phase being all the docks to the left. And that we'll be replacing everything from the post up with high quality material and redoing the bulkhead in the front, in addition to adding some electrical. And one of the questions came up, and I think we had talked about this last year, but it kind of got lost, the idea of adding life rings and potentially fire extinguishers at the end of the docks, and potentially even low lights to light up the ends of the docks so at nighttime people can see what they're going. So we have some safety issues that we're working in design now. What I'd like to do is bring that to the Board of Selectmen under a separate work section so you can see the details. So before we get ready to go out to design, go out to bid, you can see what those details are. In addition, we had damage this year. As we were trying to let the ice freeze in, the snow melted, the whole lake turned to ice, and the sun came out and moved the ice quickly. It grew and crushed some of the docks. Luckily, it was minimized, and we have a claim in with Primex. They covered it, and the work has already been done. So if you've been down there, you can see the new boards that were put in, and the repairs are pretty much done. One problem is we had to take out the plastic wood that was covering the old concrete abutment. That was not damaged because of the accident. It was just we couldn't put it back together. It's junk. It's after 20 years, it's falling apart. The screws were popping. So we have exposed it and we have an eyesore there now. So we do need to do something. The intent was, we have put money aside into the cap reserve fund for the roads. For the parking lot and for the docks. And this year we weren't planning on doing this, but now that we've exposed it, I think we need to at least start the planning part of that. And what I'd like to do is have the engineer come up with some alternatives and bring you some potential fixes, either a quick fix that we could do that'll be short-term, or a bigger fix that would work with a long-term improvement. And again, we'd be working with Duncan Miller with Civil Works on that design, and I'd like to bring that to you as soon as possible. So if we could make a decision, because we do have some money in the cap reserve fund, but again, that's under the selectmen's decision-making process. So that's the big thing going on down there. I put in the balances there, so I think you can understand what's. Any questions on that, the dock repairs or the parking lot? Okay, on the next one, water quality improvements at 55,000. That was laid out for assistance with the Cyanobacteria Committee, money for the 319 grants, and there was one other thing, right, Matt?
Yeah, we're also working with the Rust Pond on 2 potential proposals, but I did just want to note on the 319 grant, we do expect the funding to be secure and signed by GNC, and we just, Governor and Council, and we just released the RFQ for engineering services for Phase 3 on Friday of last week. So we are making progress on that project too.
Thank you. Okay, the Public Works vehicle equipment, that's into the cap reserve fund, but that money allowed us to go forward with purchases that we bid out over the winter time, and it included the new sidewalk plow and a 1-ton truck. We got a really nice deal on that, and so we have a small balance there, but we are moving forward with the rebuilding of our 6-wheel dump trucks. We started that work with one of the internationals, and that's moving forward, but I think we're in pretty good shape there. Under the building maintenance cap reserve fund, we had a deposit of 50,000. I did put a separate sheet out there showing what I could track, and I may not have everything there because I think some of the numbers are a little bit different. Linda found some discrepancies there, but presently we have somewhere between 123,000 and 133,000. We added 50,000 to that this year, and what was proposed was painting at the clock complex buildings, replacing highway garage doors, and installing a new roof at the Dockside Restaurant. Right now, the roof is out to bid. The other two projects we have been placed on hold a little bit, but we do want to go forward with the roof and try to get that done as before summertime on the Dockside Restaurant.
This is Paul. Linda, what was the finding of 10,000 one way or the other? What was that all about?
That's not under this building maintenance. It was under the restrooms. This is the building maintenance fund. I guess my other feeling is that we really need to move forward on the painting of the Clark complex. We got some building there where the paint is falling off, and we tried to get it done last year. And it seems to me if we don't get it done, the buildings are going to, rot more than they do now.
Patrick has some pricing on it, so if they've got the bids on it, we have the funds there, so we should go forward with it. I'll check in with Christine on it.
And when you get to that, I mean, is it just a paint job or is it structural repairs? So when the time is right, let's talk about that.
Okay, any other questions on the cap reserve fund, the building?
Dave, when do you, back to the docks, when do you think you might get some information or some heads up on the infrastructure grant, on the big grant?
We were hoping for late spring, so I was assuming within the next month or so we'd hear, Paul. With the slowdown, I'm not sure, but because it's grant money, maybe they'll push it through. I'm not sure how it's going to work. We were hoping that because it's a relatively new program for the state of New Hampshire, we were one of the first and only applications in. We were hoping it was going to go through, but I'll try to get some more information, get back to you on that.
Well, yeah, just my only concern there is that we don't get oops, sorry, grants are no longer, these types of grants are no longer available, or oops, hey, here's a grant that we want to push actively at you, can you take it on? That's all I want to know is, are they going to do anything? And if you can pursue it, that would be good.
Okay.
Thank you.
I got to keep looking up to see if there's a question. Hi, Christine, you're here now. Did you hear that question earlier about the painting of the clock complex building?
Yes, it's actually already been out to bid, and the town manager has it in his possession.
Okay, great.
Is it a structural issue as well as painting, Christine? I mean, is it,
there are a couple of boards that need to be replaced prior to painting, but for the most part, and I believe that is on the schoolhouse.
Okay.
Yeah, and just to dovetail onto that, I believe that we'll be getting onto this right off. One of the parameters we had for Christine when she put the bid out was to get the work done before the 4th of July. So this is already in process. It's just a matter of executing who we're going to award the bid.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'm down the line. Water Department backhoe. We had bid that out prior to town meeting. We got a great bid on a John Deere backhoe, so that has been, the order has been placed, and we're very happy about that. So that should hopefully be in another month or so.
Christine Collins.
Yes.
I repeat my offer I gave it to Ethan Hipple years ago of financing a space to the left of your parking where you have parking now for a nature observation area with maybe picnic tables and everything. And if that is something of interest to you, I'd be happy to provide the town with money to do that. I think people could come and park and watch the turtles on logs and the red-winged blackbirds and so forth. And it would be an attraction. I also think if it were published in, Boston, like whenever you come to the Lakes region, go out to this nature preserve, you'd have a lot of people. And So if that's a continuing interest or any interest, you can tap me on that sort of privately. You don't have to let everybody else know.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, moving down, the electrical generation building, the study, or the Girl Scout project. Obviously, that potentially could be a big project, and receive a public support. I have been in contact with Bergeron Technical Services, who has done some work for us on a lot of our buildings. They are not architects, but they really do a lot of good building services at much lower cost than architects. Not that there's, and so they just offered that they would be willing to help out on the project. And again, same thing with Public Works. I'd be willing to help out with the project management when we have a chance to get that moving. Right now, we talked that, obviously everything's on hold until we can have better communications. But I figured I'd just put it on the list so you know it's there. Okay, going on to last year's projects. The big one, Pleasant Valley Road, which is moving along nicely. We have spent almost 700,000 with encumbrance of over 300,000, but we still have a balance of 215,000, which is good. And we did have to come up with a change order because of trying to save the big pine tree there. That's kind of a raptor tree. And in conjunction working with the Wentworth Association and the Conservation Commission, we made some drainage changes that were increasing costs, and DOT didn't like it, so they didn't want to fund it. But I said it was important enough of the town, so we're going to fund that change totally, and that's going to be going through shortly. The bridge is moving along. It was on hold for the winter, but they're back out there, and everything's going well. Oh, just a footnote too: the worker who got hurt is recovering. He did get serious injuries when we had the accident, but he is recovering and should have a full recovery. But it's going to be a long road for him. So just everyone that he is going to be okay.
Dave, did I see there was an OSHA investigation there? And if so, is there any information coming out of that?
There certainly will be, but I don't have any of those details, Paul.
Thank you.
We do know that they did meet all the DOT requirements, contractual requirements. It's kind of a freak accident, which, so I don't know what the details of the that investigation turned up.
Okay.
I can find out. I'll talk to the owner.
Well, you don't need just ask him.
So they should be completing structural work in April, and then hopefully in May we'll be looking at paving, and then opening up the bridge, and then we'll have to take out the old bridge, and then stabilize the area, and so hopefully it will be all done by the end of May. The 2019 road money, basically all the projects that were done last year, we're just finishing up this year, and the biggest ones are obviously Partridge Road BMPs and the work on Forest Road. So that work is going to be scheduled shortly. Probably in the next couple of weeks is we're going to be moving up there, starting doing that work. Any questions on that? Okay, now the big one, dockside public restrooms. We had two appropriations in 2 separate years. Originally it was 150,000. And the town was going to manage it and do the work, do the site work, do a lot of work ourselves, like we had done the Force Field building. Ran into complications for whatever reasons. We decided not to go that direction, and we hired a construction manager instead. Their price came in at 270,000, so we had to go back for additional warrant and additional money, 150,000, bring the total to 300,000. Milestone Corporation was responsible and did all the work. That project is substantially complete now. The bathrooms could have been open, but we decided not to because of they are tight, and it's a very tight area. So we didn't think we could open it safely under the current national emergency. They are finishing up the painting there, and we're finishing up site work. Part of the work for the new bathrooms was to bring in a new water and sewer service. So we had to rip up the whole parking lot. I don't know if you recall, but in the fall, we came to the selectmen to discuss this. And Mr. Rourke, who's the owner of the buildings we share a property line with, as well as operator of our dockside restaurant, made an offer to upgrade the landscaping and work with us in terms of, instead of returning those area back to a parking lot, which is very funny parking lot, because we had spaces there that some of them were not even usable because of the angle. And we agreed to go forward with that. So we are now working on that pedestrian area, and tomorrow we should be starting to lay our curb, and hopefully Friday, if the weather holds, we'll start pouring concrete. We'll finish that following week and look at putting in the tree planter. Mr. Rock has about a 30-foot red maple tree coming in addition to all the other landscaping. And our hope is to have that all done by beginning of May. And hopefully, with the weather being nicer and hopefully the national emergency drops, you can open up the bathrooms.
Dave, I have some issues with this one, and I'll do my first issue. Is you have a surplus balance, and on our financial statements for February, they have it that this project is already over by $1,242. And so now I have my financial statement and I have this, and they don't match.
Where did you get the financial statement from? Where did it come from?
What come from?
The financial statement.
From our financial director. It's the monthly February report. So I've got two, as a selectman, I have two figures. One that you gave me and one that he gave me. And so I don't know which one is correct.
Mine's correct.
So that's one of my issues. The other issue is that we, in all our, and I went back and checked to what we said at our deliberative session, we never talked about any of the funds of the warrant article going for the garden. We talked about the sewer and water, and I understand we would have to put that back. On those October 2nd minutes, Dave Senical stated that Ty and Baum report the curbing needed to be replaced. Dave Ford said we are not replacing it. We are reinforcing it with riprap. So my feeling is I have a real concern about us using any money that was part of this warrant article for any part of the garden. So that's my 2 cents.
You mixed up a little bit. First, let me tell you that I control my projects by purchase order. So I know the money I spend and what I don't spend. I think Troy might be a little behind on some PO adjustments. So I think my money is solid. So you can believe my numbers with regards to the finances. Second, what you just referred to, unfortunately, the minutes were confusing. That comment was about Dave Senical was asking about, hey, you're going to do this work on top. Is the work underneath? So we're talking about the wharf underneath the concrete. Is that solid enough so we won't have to dig that up again? And the response was, we're going to be fixing that from the outside with riprap. So we're not going to be digging the curbing up or the sidewalk there now. We're going to work from the water and reinforce the toe slope with riprap. So that comment was about that.
Okay.
And the last comment, you said, we're not spending any money on landscaping. All the landscaping is being done by Greg Rook.
Right, but we're talking about a box around a tree, and we're talking about granite curbing. And if this project had not come, if the engineering and construction hadn't come in lower than what we had expected, there would be no money for this. It wasn't part, I don't believe, of the original project.
Yeah, I'm just trying to make it look nice. If you want to make it look nice, we can find the money somewhere else. I think it's, we discussed it. I thought I laid it out in front of the selectmen. The selectmen gave us the green light. We went forward with it. I'm sorry if there was a misunderstanding.
I just think that we did not put that in the wording of the warrant article. That's my concern.
We never put the details in the warrant articles.
We would put down, well, that's how, you and I don't have to agree on this, Dave. That's how I feel. I feel that that was not part of what we told the voters that we were going to do here. And if we did, some of that should have been in the deliberative session discussion, because we would put things like that in there, and there was nothing in there. That's how I read it. We can all disagree on this, but I don't think this is what we told the voters, that any of the money on that warrant article was going to be for curbing or stuff out in the garden area.
Again, I can recall we have been working on the parking lot project for 3 years with Mr. Rock. We had presentations, we had public stakeholder meetings. This is part of a long-term plan. So I disagree that we have not discussed this. And sometimes there has to be some fluidity and some flexibility to be able to work. When someone comes and says, hey, I want to do something nice, let's do something nice now. I thought we were doing everything in the best interest of the town, and everything we did, I think, was open and honest. So I disagree with you on, but like I say, we can agree to disagree.
Yeah, where my feeling is if this was in October, we should have been clearer either in our presentation that was at the deliberative session, or we should have put wording in the warrant article that said that we were going to do the curbing and the other. So we can agree to disagree, but I'm just feel that this is out of line, and that passed by 42%, 52%. So we can disagree.
Yeah, one thing that I would like to add to this, Mr. Rourke did come to Dave after all of these funds were approved with this concept of the garden area, and did provide the funding to help offset some of these expenses. So while it may look like some of these funds were not used for the project as outlined, the project really changed when Mr. Rourke came forward to provide the tree and upfitting of the garden area. And I believe we did come in front of the board to have this discussion. I don't remember exactly when that was, but at the end of the day, I think this is going to make a much more aesthetically pleasing final project compared to what we would have done had we not had the opportunity to partner with Mr. Rourke.
I want to say a couple of things, if I can. Greg Roark, by the way, is a treasure. But if you look on the internet in Vail, Colorado, the Roarks have tremendous amounts of property out there, and he's a great asset to the town. He's very, very modest. He runs the loft clothing, or used to, but he's one of the greatest assets and one of the greatest potential assets of our town, along with Paul Montrone, some of you know, who has helped out and was a major financier for the town hall. That's a semi-private message.
Hey, guys, this is Paul. There's two parts to this conversation I think I'm hearing. Part one is there's a disconnect between what our finance team and what our public works director has in terms of money. And I think we need to square that. We're not going to do that here tonight, but that one doesn't make sense to me. I think there should be an alignment between what Dave's numbers are and what Troy's numbers are. That's got to get sorted out. So that's a go-do for, Jim. We got to figure that out, because I'm not comfortable if I got the public works person sitting in front of me, representing a number, and I'm looking at something else on a piece of paper and it doesn't match. So that one doesn't work. In terms of the the beautification of the garden that's out there, the question I think that's on the table that Linda's raising is, was that spec'd out in the warrant article? And maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. How much money are we talking about here? Are we talking about $100,000, 10, 5, 6? How much are we talking about?
11.
So the question then is, do we ask the voters?
11,000 or 1,100?
11,000. My understanding is what he's gonna spend.
Yeah. So I think.
Am I correct?
Is that right, Dave? 11 grand. Where'd Dave go? We lost Dave.
That is correct, Paul, to my understanding.
Yeah, and so then the question, and Linda makes a point that says if it's in the town warrant and the voters voted on it, it wasn't explicit, then maybe we got to go find 11 grand someplace. But that's the question that is in front of me. Do we stop? Do we not do it right?
No.
I don't think that's a good idea. I think we do it right, but Linda's also very right, and Dave is very right. So we got to go find 11 grand.
Paul, my wife Christy and I gave quite a large amount of money to the town of Wolfeboro, which Amy Muccio has for spending at her discretion. So if the Board of Selectmen agree that it should be spent wisely, check with Amy, and she could probably give you some funds. Okay.
But I don't want to. We're not going to solve it here tonight. The one that troubles me the most is the non-alignment between what our public works person is telling us and what our financial reports are telling us. The other stuff, I think we Linda, And Linda and I talked about this earlier. We thrash at this and get it solved. But I'm troubled that we're not getting clarity on our reports.
And I absolutely about the finances. I guess what I'm making such a big deal about it is we need to be clearer in our warrant articles to make sure we're telling them what we're going to do with the funds. And that's what I felt here. We were a little, we didn't say what we were going to use this. And if that construction cost was at full amount, there would have been no money for this, if I'm understanding your memo. So I don't see any need to spend a whole lot more time. I've made my point. I'm ready to move on, but I am with Paul. We can't go on with having two very different figures. When I look at reports, one has a loss and another one has some money left over. It just doesn't work.
I will get that taken care of.
Yeah, that to me is the essence of the issue. You know, are we going to make this little garden look good? You bet. Is that the right thing to do for the citizens and the visitors of the town? Yeah, it is. Should it have been in the warrant article more clearer? Absolutely. But you know, we are where we are, and I think, you know, just I'm more troubled about the numbers. Okay, thank you.
And can I make one comment though on that? Originally, some of those numbers were before the garden started coming about at the issue, there should have been money in there for curbing and asphalt and regrading that area beside the restaurant. So there should already be some other monies there someplace from David's proposals with the parking lot and stuff even, that there should be some monies there, because we're not doing what part of that was. We're moving it out further and we're doing less. So there should be some other, you might want to look there too, David.
The money is there in the 300,000, so there's no problem with the money in the 300,000. And again, I think it's in conjunction with the overall work being done, but we got to do better. So I'll agree to that and try to do better. But again, I'm pretty confident the money is there, so not to worry about that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Move on to the effluent disposal project, the RIB site. We have a big expenditure in 2019, our authorization of that. We have encumbrances of over 230,000 with engineering. There's a lot of work in progress. This financials are one of the ones that's not updated because a lot of the financials are behind schedule. We are working with Underwood engineers and on wetland permitting, and the project is still moving forward. We had a detailed peer review, which we came up with some good ideas to help make the design and the long-term plan stronger. We are looking at the overall project. We want to dry the whole site up, and the idea is to maximize discharge at the RIB site this summer and the spray area, and then shut it all off in August. Have a whole year to let the site dry up. We're looking at putting the job out to bid in the winter, and then be able to have construction in the summer of 2021. I wrote a separate letter, just some of the major items there, and I'll just touch upon them quickly. I was looking at the potential to do a design build and trying to use more local contractors, saving money by not spending as much on engineering, and maybe the town taking a little bit of a higher risk position. Our engineers have advised against that. Currently, there's very good funding programs, and this was before the stimulus package. So this was with potential for 15% loan forgiveness, a 2% loan, and potentially a 30% grant on the state revolving, the SAG money, the state aid grant money. Now with the potential for stimulus money, we definitely want to make it all traditional, so we'll have all the front-end documents. So we're going to go forward with the traditional bid, and again, Underwood Engineers is working on that now. The second big.
Can I point out one thing on the finance and SAG grant? Remember that when we had an economic downturn, the state did not pay us their portion of the SAG grant for 4 years. We had to go into Concord. So, you know, with where the economy is right now, I'm a little worried that they might do that again if we got one of those grants.
The SAG is the least likely to come through, so I agree with you, Linda, but the 15% forgiveness is a big number on $3 million.
Okay,
And if the grant does go through, sometimes you wait and then it comes in later. But the more exciting thing is the stimulus money, because you remember last time the stimulus came in 2008 and 2009, and we picked up over $1 million to do the second, RABs 4 and 5 and the upgrades at the plant.
okay.
So the next issue is on the wetlands, and this is kind of a problem. I hate to, we created most of these wetlands when we started discharging. But because they were not detailed mapped prior to the discharge, we're having a hard time prove that the wetlands we're altering are wetlands we made. In any case, we're moving forward, and the options for mitigation is paying $90,000 to the wetlands fund, the special wetlands mitigation fund, or looking at putting land into easements and so we've looked at a lot of different options, and I was trying to be innovative and trying to keep the money in our community, but it looks like the red tape and the problems that come along with trying to do something innovative are not going to help us here. So I think the easy way out is to pay the $90,000, and we're working on trying to minimize the amount of wetlands that qualify to bring that number down, because we say, hey, look, pre-existing, we're not as many wetlands, we might be able to get that number down, but unfortunately that's going to be something that's in the budget now, because it's just the red tape that goes along with it is tough. The wetlands permit schedule, we've met with the Conservation Commission of Wolfeboro. We have not with Tuftonboro yet, because we wanted to make sure we had everything lined up with regards to the design and how we're going to handle that. So we are going to move forward with that as soon as we can have a meeting with them after the emergency. We're hoping the final wetland permits will be submitted this summer with the permits by the end of the winter, early spring, and then construction late 2021. The administrative order, we are on track with everything. We did get an amendment to the order, which now allows us to get construction done by September of 2021. And I have been in contact with DES, and they have no problem if that has to extend out a few more months, as long as we're making progress, which we are. The last thing is the pilot projects, which are still ongoing, and the pilot projects are all almost 90% of that work done will be part of the final solution. Some of the work needs some fixing, and some, so we're going to go in and install some additional infrastructure with some manholes and flow monitoring. We're fixing some of the defects on Trench 2, and we're looking at one additional pilot that could be a big cost savings with regards to the construction of the infiltration trenches. So some of that work will be ongoing in addition to mitigating wetlands that we can do now, again, and to restore areas that aren't going to be dug up in the future. So that's all moving along very nicely. And just any questions on the RAB side?
Dave, what were you thinking the pond level would get to if we shut down the RIB sites?
So I have a theoretical model, and I use it against my actual model. So I've been watching it from 2009 to now. So I got 11 years of data, and it all is dependent upon the rain in and different aspects. So I'm hoping that we could draw that pond down to about 3 to 7 million gallons by the August of this year.
Okay.
By August, when we have it shut for a whole year, it'll only be at 70 to 75 million gallons.
Okay.
That's a theoretical model.
Well, good.
It doesn't work, and maybe I'll leave town, but I think we're pretty good at it. So.
Okay.
The last page of the memo just went over the financials. The financials are just the overall numbers, and I just had, if anyone had any questions, where we're at. John Burt has done such an excellent job in managing this money that we've increased that by over $480,000. So we're in pretty good shape with this project, expecting it to be in the $3 million range, and we still have a budget of 3.5. So that's good news also. And then the other thing is, with the economy being the way it is, if it's down, this might be a great time to bid in the winter. So maybe we'll get some really good numbers from construction. Okay, get back on order here. Where are we? Capital reserve at the treatment plant. This year, we did not fund that because we were trying to make room in the capital cash budget to do other projects, so we did not fund it. However, we do have a balance there, and we are going to move forward with the electrical engineering for upgrades that probably won't go out until next year, but this could be some work we could bundle and maybe take advantage of the stimulus package. So some of the work at the treatment plant could be put out to bid, and that might qualify. So that's working with Woodward and Curran on that project. The 2019 water quality study, this was the engineering for the beach, and Underwood has done all that work, and that's pretty much they got work in progress. So the encumbrance is almost all done now. We have again put in for the permits, and right now we are working on the final scope of work to be released next week to go forward with construction documents. The last one for 19 was the water quality improvements projects, which we had 50,000, of which 15,000 of that went to the Lake Winnipesaukee Association for doing work on the watershed management plan, and that plan is wrapping up. I was on a conference call last week with them, and they're working on their recommended BMPs. A lot of good information coming out of that report, and things that we'll have to be having further discussions on. The Cyanobacteria Committee, led by Warren Muir, has done an incredible job in terms of getting so much testing done and getting so much volunteer work that we did not spend anywhere near the amount of money we thought. We still have some bills pending, and we have a lot of samples that were done. He's done a great job, so we did come under budget, and that's kind of good news. We did purchase some equipment for next year's sampling, and I'm sure we'll hopefully, when things get better, we'll get right back into that with the Cyanobacteria Committee. The committee also has developed the website, and I'm not sure, is that online yet, Paul? Is the webpage for the cyanobacteria?
www.wolfeboroWaters.com.org.net, or you can access it through the town website. It's up, it's running. Click on the map, you can see pretty pictures, and you can see wonderful stuff that Mr. Bowers has written. And all of your stuff from Underwood Engineering and all of our plans are up and ready. You can go look at it right now.
Great, awesome. Okay, moving on to the older projects, the sewer I&I project. We have put that project kind of on hold, as in our I&I problem is Linda probably knows, back in 2005 and 2006. We had regular sewer overflow problems where sewer on the heavy rainfalls in springtime now would be, okay, watch out, sewage would be in the street. The plant was seeing flows in excess of 1 million gallons in a day. I just checked today, for the last 5 days, which is kind of a high flow with the rain, we averaged 400,000 gallons a day. So our II problem has been reduced dramatically because of the efforts the town has made. And this was part of our administrative order to get lined up the next sections of work. This is an area that we have projects ready to go. However, I think we have other higher priorities. That being said, if the stimulus package does go forward with big money, we might want to consider putting in an I&I project for 2021, if we can get good grant money. But right now, this project is...
What kind of project for 2021?
It would be the sewer infiltration reduction projects in which we would... Sewer line. Yep. Okay, the Bay Street Sidewalks project. That project, we had some really good meetings and we came up with alternative designs. The project was placed on hold this year because of funding and the CIP level. We thought we had to hold it off. The engineering dollars we had for last year allowed us to do some more detailed surveying, and we will be putting that project up to a certain point and putting it on hold until we have a chance to discuss with the CIP committee whether we want to go forward with construction in the next year. The last project here is the Center Street reconstruction project, this is one I do have to go over the numbers. I think we're going to come in under budget. We have a lot of money coming back to us with regards to reimbursement from New Hampshire DOT and DES. We're working on those reimbursements now. But overall, I think the project came in pretty good. We have a couple of issues with drainage in some areas that are flat, but that's the difficult site we had. So overall, I think the project came in pretty good, and we will probably take that off the list for next time around. So there's a lot of projects there, and I did want to make a comment on two things. One, New Hampshire DOT contacted me today. They are moving forward with their overlay project on Route 28 in 2 phases. They're going to start next week on phase from the Wright Museum on Center Street all the way out to the Ossipee Town line. They will start working Monday on the ADA ramps and crosswalks. Their intent is to do a 3/4 inch overlay for that whole stretch, and that could start within 3 to 4 weeks. The town is responsible for raising gate valves and sewer manholes, and I'm working with my crew in getting that done. I don't believe the state ever came back to us and gave us an official notification if they're going to take away one of our crosswalks.
Right.
That's right. That's the intent, but I can't get a straight answer out of them. And one of them would be near the furthest one north from the Chinese restaurant.
You mean from the Seabird, right? From the one.
Yes.
Yeah. So I saw somebody out there like 2 weeks ago doing some measurements. There was a state truck there. Be that as it may, we probably need to let the citizens know that some work's going to get done beginning, would you say, Dave, next week they're going to start?
I will try to get something. Yeah, I just found out today. So starting Monday, they'll be working on those ADA ramps, those tip downs like they did last year, before they come in, the concrete
Right.
tip downs. They're also going to.
If you walk out there right now, you can see somebody took a can of spray paint, spray painted where the tip down should be. They kind of did the ovals, so it's out there.
Dave, did they ever come back and fix that tip down at Carpenter School?
So under this contract, he's going to repair the one from the previous one. So I talked to the state about that. So they'll be in hopefully within the next week or two. So it'll be good time now that school's out. They'll have that done.
Okay,
Thank you.
you.
Thank you, Dave.
The second phase of the work is going to be from Pickering Corner to Alton Town Line. That overlay is scheduled for the summertime and could be done at night. They may start the ADA ramps, and if you see the same thing there, you'll see orange painting on those crosswalks. So all the crosswalks there will be have the ADA ramps, and they were supposed to be moving the crosswalk at the high school to the south side of the entrance, where it is now. It's on the north side of the exit, and it'll be now on the south side of that exit.
As it comes out of McManus Road.
Not McManus Road, out of the road, the parking lot.
The turn parking, the one-way parking lot that goes by the water tower.
Yes,
that is closer to town. The entrance from the parking lot closer to town, kind of right next to the high school. Dave, I have a question about the blinky lights. Are we to expect that we're going to have blinky lights now installed since they're doing these road renovations? Are they coming at us?
Yeah. The blinky lights, also known as the RRFBs, rapid flashing beacons, are going to be. Brewster is working with DOT and getting their permits to install one at their crosswalk. And I believe we talked about that with the selectmen, so that's moving forward. And then, but the rest of these are not required at this time. As we're doing the bigger project, which would be the federal money that'll come in 2023, that's when they're going to be pushing for the blinky blinkies.
What a great visual. Thank you.
Fight or agree that that's the right thing. We good on that?
Yeah, I'm fine. Thank you.
Any other questions on the Public Works report or anything else that I may have glossed over or maybe did not explain? We're good?
Dave, before you leave, could you just give the board and the citizens an update as to the water leak which you guys experienced yesterday, please?
Yeah, thank you, Jim, for mentioning that. I meant to mention, I want to say a thank you to Scott Pike and Rod Dempsey and the water crew. Incredible work. We had a 6-inch valve blow on us out in front of the Children's Center yesterday afternoon around noontime. That created a massive leak of 600 to 700 gallons a minute. We blew apart the sidewalk there. We were able to get it minor under control. It took us a while. We had to get some additional gate valves. Had 8 gate valves that had to shut it down eventually. And we found the problem, and we stopped it yesterday, and we went back in today and got it fixed. We do need to get in with the Children's Center to talk about what we found. It was quite interesting. But just kudos to the guys doing a great job out there. And only a short section of town was turned off during that. It was mostly Brewster in the homes there, and I'm sorry for the inconvenience for them, but everything is back in place. There's probably gravel there now. We'll probably let it dry out this weekend and pave the sidewalk in our next week. Again, great job by the crew.
Dave, that wasn't in so in other words, it was in the sidewalk. It wasn't the main water pipe out in the street.
That's correct. What happened was the main line out there is a 1980 vintage cement line, ductile line, 10-inch pipe. The 6-inch line was tapped into that to go into the Children's Center. That 6-inch line had a valve on it. It was a tap and sleeve, and that valve had bolts. And there was 8 bolts, and the bolts weren't stainless steel, so they rusted. And we had a surge yesterday in the system, and the surge increased the pressure, and it just popped. The bolt popped, lifted the bonnet off the valve, creating the leak. So luckily, it did not break the pipe, which is a much bigger problem for us. As a result, we never lost pressure to the system. We were able to keep a positive pressure. So I don't think we had any red water complaints. And again, we did a heck of a job there.
Good, thank you.
One thing I'll say to it, our guys are working really hard to practice the 6-foot distance and PPE. It's very difficult in an emergency. And I, for one, caught myself in numerous cases when I was trying to get in and figure out what was going on, because we had to look at 3 different as-built drawings and try to figure out how we shut the system down, and it never shuts down. So we had a lot of complications, guys in the hole. We are working hard, and we have to continue to remind ourselves about the social distancing. So if somebody saw us out there, some people had masks, some didn't have masks. When an emergency occurs, everyone gets to get the job done. So after that, today, we had discussions with our workers to remind them. Everyone is getting better slowly. Each week, we seem to get a little more safer. We have, again, as Jim talked about, and we are doing things like single persons to truck, and we are trying to keep separation and trying to keep the crew separate. Yesterday, though, we had highway working with water because we had to have all men on deck because of the big leak. But it's good that we have the good people, and again, I'm very proud of the crew, what they did. Anything else, Jim? All set?
No, Dave, thank you. And I would echo those sentiments. I saw Dave, when the leak was reported, he immediately grabbed his maps, was out in the street working with these guys. And when I went home yesterday afternoon, I observed these guys working their tails off to get this project done. And same thing first thing this morning when I came in, they were right back at it. And kudos to everybody. They did a phenomenal job. So thank you.
Yes, thank you, Dave.
Dave Ford rocks.
I have a quick question. Can everybody hear me okay right now?
Yes.
Hey, Brad. Yep.
Because the voice, all of a sudden, my voice stuff that I'm hearing from you guys dropped to about half. And I got my volume on full, so. But I can make it out still, so it's just a little harder. But
I think Matt Sullivan did it.
again, thank you, Dave. Appreciate you joining us tonight.
Got nothing to do with that. It's T-Mobile.
Dear Mr. Senator, thank you for your thought leadership. I appreciate it.
Yep.
Okay. Next on us tonight is the beach warrant article update.
So, Mr. Vice Chairman, just to give a little bit of a background, before we experienced this pandemic, myself, Mr. Sullivan, Ms. Collins from Public Work or from Parks and Rec, and Mr. Chaffee from Public Recs Department sat down and we went over the warrant articles and essentially had a brainstorming session where we discussed various options, and we separated, and then we really separated based on social distancing and trying to create our various work pods. Last week, we were able to have a virtual meeting through this GoToMeeting platform to discuss further some of the provisions that are in this document, which you have in front of you this evening. And by all means, it's a good template at this point. And I'd like to thank Matthew, Christine, and Justin for their hard work in tackling this project. With that said, I'd like to hand it over to Christine, and she will be able to brief you as to where we are.
Thank you, Jim. The proposal that you have in front of you tonight, I know the selectmen have seen it and the public has not, so I'll just do a quick overview. The proposal that you have, it addresses the peak beach season. And when I say peak beach season, that actually is, hold on, June 26th through August 15th. That's roughly when we bring our lifeguards on, and when most of them have to go back to school. So it's when we have all our staff on duty. It's when all of our big events are held. And typically around August 15th, or it's usually the third Saturday in August, which is Granite Man Triathlon, we do cut back on staffing for our beaches. Based on the 2020 beach warrant articles, this is a plan we came up with the current budget that we have. So we implemented it to the best of our ability. What it actually addresses is how to manage the beaches with having it be residents only. And so one way that we felt that we could do it is we would have to actually take care of all three beaches versus just the two that were voted on, which was Cary and Albee Beach. We feel that with those two votes coming on that one, on those beaches, that third beach would be impacted. And because that third beach harbors our swim team and our swim lessons, we felt like it would definitely impact the use of the beach, and we'd probably have to manage not really residents versus non-residents, but more of popularity of the beach, and over, if it's overpopulated, shut the gate and have to move them on to a different beach. So the proposal actually addresses all three beaches. The things that it actually, the recommendations are shortening the opening beach season. So that peak season, we typically try to stay open until Labor Day. But like I said, the first beach that kind of doesn't have guards is Cary Beach. And when I say doesn't, typically in the past, it's just they don't have guards and we shut the bathrooms. But for all intents purposes for this year, we're talking about opening and closing the beaches. So we are opening gates and closing the gates from June 26th through August 15th. So it would actually have an open and close. It would modify the hours of operation. So we're saying it would be 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Modify the staff positions and hours. So with this proposal, we're also saying that some of the positions, instead of having a lifeguard per se at the beach, we would have a beach attendant and a gatekeeper. Lifeguards would be still utilized when we are offering recreation programs that we are managing. But other than that, it would be strictly beach attendants and gatekeepers. And then a creation of a sticker tag system and construction of gate attendant structures for the future. So this would mean that our beaches would operate for roughly 7 weeks, plus a week of training for our staff. And we currently, just so you know, because of the things that are going on right now, we actually have all three beaches are closed. We did close Cary Beach parking lot, but there were some issues with parking. So we actually roped off the beach itself, put up a sign that said beach was closed, still allowing people to use the parking lot for if they put kayaks in the water or something like that. So we're not having parking on either side of the road. We had someone call us and we felt like it was an issue. We would still offer our program. So Cary Beach on Wednesdays would be for day camp. Brewster Beach, Monday through Thursday, would have lifeguards and swim lessons. Typically Fridays, we have our swim team meets there. And so what this proposal looks like is instead of showing up at a beach, parking your car and going to the beach, you will actually be greeted by someone. So you will be welcome to our beach. You will be handed a list of rules, or we'll go over the rules with you. And then you would be handed a trash bag for our carry in, carry out trash policy. And the gate attendant would also be checking your tag to make sure that you were indeed a resident. We're proposing that residents could receive up to 3 individually numbered beach tags. And the tags are actually going to be like they have for campgrounds that go in the mirror, hanging from the mirror. So for instance, for my family, I have a family of 4 and each of us has our own vehicle. So it would be hard for us to go to a beach, you know, trying to scramble with people. So I could say, hey, I need the tag, I'm going to the beach today. So that was our proposal for that. And then for people who are non-residents that are part of our programs, we feel that they would also need a tag to get them into the beach for the programs. So we would have temporary passes for if, for instance, at Albee Beach in particular, we have sailing lessons. So they would have a tag for that week of sailing that they're participating in. And we propose that we would manage the tags through Parks and Rec. One reason why we wanted to do that is just a little bit more flexibility in hours. We could do weekend hours versus the town hall Monday through Friday, 8 to 4. We're not necessarily going to sell them at, give them at the gate, because we want to manage them in-house with our system to make sure we're keeping track of it. We feel like this will be helpful if a car is left behind, if a pass goes missing, we'll be able to figure out who it belonged to, remove that number, and then issue a new one. We will update all of the signs at the beaches. Right now, we have looked at the one at Albee Beach. It says open to the public. It has been covered up, but we are re-stickering that. We're just waiting for the words that we're going to put on it. And same thing with Brewster and Cary, just looking at all our signage there, updating that. So that is the proposal for June 26th through August 15th. The shoulder, now you don't have this in your possession, but after talking to Matt, the shoulder season options. So things that we need to capture that we will be missing. This year is a little unique because possibly most schools will be out a lot earlier than in the past. So you want to keep that in mind when thinking about the proposals here. We're talking about realistically Memorial Day weekend through June 25th, which is roughly 5 weeks, and then August 15th through Labor Day, which is about 3 weeks. I have put forth 4 different options. The first option would be having the gates closed until June 26th. So that means having them shut how they are now. Bathrooms will remain closed, exception of porta potties. The second option would be have the gates open. So right now they're closed because of what's going on. Say it's listed, then we lifted, then we would just open the gates and people could use the beaches freely. There would be no lifeguard on duty, no gate attendant, and they would just have access to porta potties. And then the third option would be you could actually manage the facility with having a gatekeeper and a beach attendant for all 3 beaches. And then the fourth one would be a gate attendant and a beach keeper for just 2 of the beaches, which is Cary and Albee. So the last 2, I will tell you, will increase my budget because it's currently what we did for the 8 to 6 and the 7 weeks with the training week, that ate up my whole budget. So the last 2 options here, we would actually have to increase the budget in order to manage the beach. And what we're looking for today is just some input from the selectmen, try to see where you want us to go with that. And hopefully in 2 weeks, we can adopt this. Do you want to add anything, Matt?
Yeah, I just want to add a couple points. What Christine was talking about at the end with the 4 options, we did have further discussions today as the staff team working on this. Ultimately, we feel it's both important to be respectful of the current approved 2020 budget, but also that the idea of closing off access to even residents in outside of prime season times wouldn't be in the best interests of not only those residents, but also other folks who might be using it. So our recommendation, I think I'm comfortable saying, is that we keep the gates open outside of the peak season that's identified in the proposal in front of you. We would probably want to work with the police department to at least have some general checks of the conduct that's going on down there, but we would not have an active enforcement policy for the residents only requirement in those quote unquote non-peak times. So I just want to emphasize that again as sort of our recommendation that we do keep the gates open. Just a few minor comments. You'll see a comment in this proposal about ordinance changes. We're not rushing into that. We're really looking at 2020 as I hate to call it a reactionary year, but really a year in which we both educate ourselves on what processes and procedures are best for the beaches, but also educate residents and folks who are used to using our beaches about the new procedures that are in place and what those mean for their usage. I also think it's a year of flexibility. We are talking about these passes being distributed from the Parks and Recreation Office. Certainly this year, depending on what the selectmen decide on, if someone has a dump sticker, there are certain inferences that we can use, I think, to allow somebody into the beach. We want to be able to, again, educate them on what the proper procedure is. We certainly are not going to have a simple black and white policy, I think, about all of these rules. We want to be somewhat flexible as we move forward, particularly in the context of this new reality of COVID-19. But I think Christine captured everything else well. The objective is to get some comments tonight from the select board, maybe some additions that you might want to have amended here in the policy, and hopefully getting this adopted, because the season, depending upon what the emergency order modifications are, the season is just around the corner, and we may be forced to implement this sooner rather than later. So we're hoping to have some action from the selectmen in the coming weeks.
Mr. Chairman or Mr. Chairman, can I ask a couple of questions? Brad, can I ask a few questions? Or Dave?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Okay, so I'm trying to thank you, Christine, and thank you, Matt. The document you put together is clearly indicative of a bunch of hard work, and I personally am very appreciative of your work. Let me try to figure out what I heard. And if it's wrong, just tell me. So first, we want the beaches. We would all, I think, would want our beach parking lots to be open all year long. I'm just making all year long. We want them to be open. If I want to go down to Albany Beach, or if I want to go to Cary Beach, and take the Jeep, take the dog, and go down the Cotton Valley Trail and do whatever I got to do. I want to be able to have that open all year long. That's kind of like one. However, during the summer season, whatever we define that to be, and you've defined it, Christine, as when you have actual resources on the beach. Whatever the summer season is, I'd like to say, Memorial Day through Labor Day. We would like to maybe say to folks, hey, listen, from 8 a.m. until whenever, 7 p.m., the beach is available for residents only. And the way you get a sticker is you can either get it through Parks and Rec, or if you have a solid waste transfer sticker, or you buy it down wherever, you got to get a sticker. From 8 until 7 or whatever, that's when we say to people during the summertime, that's a residents only beach access. What I'm not keen about is saying to our town residents, hey, if you want to do early morning yoga, you can't do it. Or if you want to go sit on Cary Beach with a pizza and watch the sun go down, you can't do it. I don't think that's the right model. So did I hear you correctly that you're saying that we want to keep the gates up, but during the summer season, when we're really busy, whatever that season be defined as, you want to have residents only parking? Is that kind of what I heard?
Yes.
Actually, with residents only parking, you have the counter proposal that we're the tourist center of Lake Winnipesaukee, the jewel of Lake Winnipesaukee, and we invite residents. So you have to figure out, including with Mary DeVries, the Chamber of Commerce, of what is a good trade-off. You know, in general, there are many different cross complications. For example, Travel Advisor says don't go to Lake Wentworth Beach because they charge you $5. Go to Grawlby Beach, go to Cary Beach, and so forth. So I think it's there's no easy answer to this, whatever. But on the other hand, we're tourist oriented. We don't want to discourage tourists from coming, but when they come here, we want them to do certain things.
No, I'm with you, Dave, but, and again, I apologize, Brad, if I'm preoccupying the time of the board. We have a reality. It's called warrant articles. We got 2 of them. So it seems to me that we want to make sure that the residents of the town of Wolfeboro have free and open access to the beach just about any time they want. Period. End of message. Bingo. The question, not the question, but the issue is during the busy season. And you know, Christine, you said June 25th through August 15th, whatever the dates are. My view would be Memorial Day to Labor Day, during the period of time 8 a.m. to whenever 6, 7 p.m. That beach access is residents only. And the way you get on that beach is you either have a transfer station sticker, or somebody goes down to. I read your proposal. Someone gets, you know, the hotel rooms get 1 per hotel room, or somebody goes down to Parks and Recs and gets stickers. Is that kind of is that the shorthand of what you're saying?
By the way, no one ever regulates this whatsoever. There are no auditors at any of these facilities.
Well, I'll just quickly respond. So we are proposing to do just that, though. We are proposing to audit during these peak times. But Paul, I think the concern that you're bringing up is one that we did talk about, and that was, first, you are correct. That is what we are proposing during the peak time of the year. The concern that we did talk about was both evening hours and morning hours, and what access would be like for even residents of the town. And the line that we're trying to walk is, do we strictly implement this policy as residents only during that peak season, and therefore even restrict their access early in the morning and late at night? And maybe the answer is no. I think that's a fair point. Or do we potentially be a bit more flexible, not have patrol, if you will, or gate attendants in the morning, allow residents and potentially others into the facility with the gates open, and then deal with the parking that's there when the gate attendants arrive after that? Yeah. Our concern had just been, just one last point, and that is our concern had been, if we get 30 to 40 cars that are in there prior to the beach actually opening, what is the mechanic, you know, what are the mechanics of actually dealing with the people that are already there when the day starts? Will we get people that show up right at 7:50 in the morning just to avoid the gate attendant? And that was just a concern that we had. So I hope I answered your question, but that was what we were thinking.
And I'll do one last thing, Brad or Dave, and I'll shut up after this. You know, that's one of those issues you go, I wouldn't worry about a whole lot about that. What I would worry about is we get to a situation where we say to the residents of Wolfeboro, you can't go do morning yoga on Old Beach. That's a non-starter. Or you can't take your pizza and go sit down on Cary Beach and watch the sunset. If people want to clear the beach, if people are there before 8 o'clock or whatever, it is what it is. The other thing I don't understand, and I really would like some clarity on, and we should get some clarity on this, is I really don't want our gate attendants, personal opinion, of course, I don't want our gate attendants being cops. If somebody comes and says, hey, you know, I was here last year and you know me, and I'm just going to drive in and park my car, and, you know, they suggest to our gate attendants that they have a permission to do that. I don't want the gate attendant, you know, chasing this person down. I think this is something that we should ask our friends in the police department to, you know, to take care of. But it seems to me that we just want to make this so that the residents of the town have full and unfettered access to the beach, period. During the busy season, busy time, 8 to 5, 8 to 6, 8 to 7, pick a time, pick a date stream. we want to restrict parking at the beach for those people who have stickers, period. Where you get the stickers is, I don't know, we can get them wherever they make sense to get the stickers, period. That's kind of where I would go with the policy. That's my thoughts.
I'd like to weigh in here, and I want to thank you for putting this proposal together. It gave me something to react to this, and it made me think about different things that are happening and the different ways this community uses that beach. One of the reasons the gates are not closed now was the uproar from the citizens of this community when we had a very hot day in May and the gates were closed to their beach. So they say they don't want other people on there, but I didn't see in any of those Warren articles that said, don't let me on the beaches whenever I want to be there, other than the times they're closed. So I'm with Paul. We set a time we set hours, and then after that, the gates are open. My other issue is I think we have a restroom issue. To say we're only going to use porta potties, I don't think it's going to work when we have just built that wonderful Albany bathhouse with bathrooms, and those people who walk up and down that Bridge Falls path and have their coffee, one of their main stops is at that restroom at Albany Beach. In fact, people wanted, you know, a porta potty at a Mass Landing, the ones who couldn't make Albany Beach. So I believe we have attendance, we control who's on the beach from 8 to 6, 7, whatever the time is, and then after that it's open. Because I think the issue that people were saying is that they were getting crowded out. There wasn't space. It was being overused. I'm with Paul. That beach should be open. Brewster Beach should be all open so that the people who want to take their boat, I mean, their ice houses out. You know.
Well,
so
they want to go on the lake in the middle of the winter and do ice skiing. And even though Maggie Steer isn't here, Maggie Steer had a great point when she teed this up, which is, I want to bring my mom to the beach, and I want a parking space. Okay, well, that's fine. But you know what? 7 o'clock at night, the gates are up, and you can come to the beach as long as you don't crap it up.
I looked at it as how we as a community use the beach. That's how I looked at it, and what is the need of our businesses? And our businesses are the, you know, and that was when I was looking at it, starting the 26th and ending the 15th of August and then shutting it down. To me, that just doesn't address the needs of the community. So I think with some of these, you know, you can probably look at massaging it and bringing up another draft for us. I don't believe that this summer social distancing is going to go away. Even if the business and everything open up, you hear everybody talking that we're still going to need to have social distancing. And somewhere in here, we're going to need to address, how are we going to make
Linda, I lost you. We're not hearing you, Linda.
In 40 years,
you've gone to mute, Linda.
In 40 years of living next to Cary Beach, I've never seen a busload of people go to Cary Beach. I've never seen a single problem of any kind at Cary Beach.
Linda, you're back online. We can see your microphone's unmuted.
Mute that whole time?
Yes. Great. You're watching the.
Okay, I'll go back at it then. One of the things is I agree with you. I do not want the beach not open until June or closed on August 15th. I want to have once we have them up at the gates, we have it from 7 to 6 or whatever it is. After that, it's wide open. We have a restroom issue because people use the restrooms at Albany Beach. I am concerned about social distancing for this winter. And I do not believe, this summer, I do not believe that we're not going to have to practice social distancing. And how are we going to apply that to our beaches in this policy? Because it's going to need to be this year's policy.
You know,
Could
I think, I agree with Linda. I think the issue that Christine has is that she has budget to run the beaches the way we've traditionally done it from, I may be wrong, Christine, on the dates, but I might be close, 26 June to 15 August. And
That is correct. And partly the reason why that is for staffing purposes.
Right.
Sometimes I don't have the staff out of high school or out of college and in the community. And then in August, a lot of them leave.
Right.
This model is a little different because I'm not solely hiring lifeguards, right? We're hiring gatekeepers, beach attendants. So it actually might, maybe that opens up the pool of people. But yes, typically this is not unusual. We usually open right around 4th of July, and we usually close right around after Granite Man. We kind of die off. Some of our beaches we can extend a little bit. Some of our beaches we can extend because of rain days. So when we do close for rain, we do have that money that allows us to extend the season a little bit. The proposal put before you was based on my financial circumstances of what I have available to me.
It was a damn good proposal. It was a really good proposal. So the first question, I guess, maybe to tee up is, what should be what should be the beach open days and closed days? And, you know, just for giggles, I'm going to propose Memorial Day to Labor Day is the window of time that our beaches are open for business. Now, Christine would look at, you know, would answer that question by saying, oh, that's a really good, thank you for helping me with that. I don't have budget to do that. But I'm suggesting that we should think about that. Then the next question is, what is the hours of operation where we would have somebody manning, if you want to use a sexist term, personing the gate and saying, hey, welcome to the beach, you know, you're in, you're out, you shouldn't be here. And whatever the hours of operation are, we set those hours of operation, 8 to 5, 8 to 7, pick a time. Mm-hmm. And then beyond that, on the outside perimeter of that is, you know, August 18th, the gates are up, the beaches are open. Anybody who wants to go park in the parking lot can do that. Mm-hmm. And as long as they don't mess up the, we'll yell at them if they leave litter behind. So I think during this high season is the problem we're trying to focus on, and that's what the Warren article is telling us. And so we need to figure out what we want the high season to be, what we want the hours of operation to be, and how we want to resource that during that period of time, with stickers and all that other kind of stuff, and the shoulders, August, June, October, January, walking down Cotton Valley Trail in the middle of the winter. And we're not worried about that. We're worried about the summer season. So I think that's the problem we're trying to solve. And with that,
can I just ask a quick question? Paul, don't go on mute. I have a question for you. And it's actually for everybody, but I agree. And my question is, what do you think of the dates and hours that we've proposed? Because that is exactly what we tried to do with this document. And I think we're in agreement that the open season, both on the shoulder, I am?
No, you're not.
No, it's Linda's phone. She's using an Apple. That's a different
Okay.
issue.
Well, so I think we're in agreement that the shoulders of the dates, we're fine keeping the gates open during that time, both before and after on the hours during the peak season. I think that's fine. But what are you comfortable with the dates and times that we proposed? Because that's what we're coming forward with.
My bid is Memorial Day to Labor Day.
As long it's if Matt, the gates are not closed, and so people cannot be on those beaches, I'm okay only having people at the gate from June 26th to August 15th. But when we don't have, those gates need to be open. The public needs to be able to get in there. Then I'm fine. There's a lot of this that really makes sense in terms of the passes, as I think you hear from Dave. It's just that we have to leave the beaches open for the residents. And I think that was something we were kind of missing in this.
Right. So because the only option, if we don't, I think the only option would be to shorten the time during the day that we have staff there and elongate the season. But as Christine is saying, the staffing issue makes that virtually impossible. So I think that's kind of why we came up with this proposal. So I'm hearing that. I think that's good. So thank you. I think Christine's going to have some.
Oh, I guess
Well, don't forget-
maybe Christine has given us some clarity here. My bid would be Memorial Day to Labor Day. Christine may be saying to us, yeah, that's a great idea. Unfortunately, I can't get resources because they're in school, they're going back to school between the, and so the best I can do is June 26th to August 15th. Okay, that's fine. But I still recommend that you think about the beach being open for residents from Memorial Day to Labor Day. Whether we can check tags or not is something, Christine, you're going to help us solve that problem.
Can I speak?
Yeah.
Okay. So I would say there's two different things here. First of all, beaches being open. Technically, it is Memorial Day to Labor Day, like beaches available for use, and that's kind of beach season. I think what we're talking about is hours of operation to manage the warrant articles of them saying they want residents only, and that's what we were trying to capture here. As far as beaches and not locking the gates, that's fine. I think if you are keeping the gates open and we're just having people check tags, I think our concern was, like anything, if people hear, hey, gate attendants don't go on until 8 o'clock, as long as you're at the beach by 8 o'clock, you have a spot. And I don't think it's probably going to be a big deal for Cary Beach. I think it's Albee Beach that is going to be the issue. And that's what we're trying to do. I'm trying to implement the wishes of the voters for that warrant article and have it be for residents only. It's hard to do that if you say, hey, you can all come on until we put someone standing there and now you can't come on. And so I think it is going to be hard for my staff who was there when someone's like, yesterday I came and there was no problem. And now we're implementing that. So that's the only reason why it was in phases and why I wrote it the way I wrote it, was just so my staff didn't have so much to deal with. But I think we do have to have a conversation with the police department, because in that season where we're not hours of operation, it will be maybe the police are checking if people have passes. You can still implement those passes, but it will be checked drive-bys in the parking lot. And we have, I'm sorry, real quick, Paul. The bathrooms, Albee Beach bathrooms are typically on a timer. So those are open from that Memorial Day to Labor Day. Actually, it's probably a little bit extended. The other two beaches, we don't typically open them unless we have those hours of operation, because we need people to clean them. So we have the porta potties there, and it doesn't seem to be a big deal because they're not as heavily utilized as Albee has been in the past. The problem lies if I do open up all the bathroom facilities, then I have to have somebody unlock them. With Albee Beach, because it's on a timer, we have that capability of doing it. And that's the only reason why that one's done that way. Plus the walk is there.
And that's why I was concerned about the bathroom, because it is that Albee Beach.
Yeah.
I see that Mary DeVries is on, should we get some input from the chamber at this time? Is people comfortable with that?
Sure.
Yep.
Mary? I guess she's not here. It looks like
I think she's listening to the meeting. I think she's muted, but I'll read her comment if you'd like me to.
Sure.
She had two comments. One, she asked a question. What is the selectmen's response to the vote on the two warrant articles? It is my understanding that you are expected to make the decision in the best interest of Wolfeboro. That was question number one. And question two was, for example, we would not see a chain off at Cary Beach when not managed by staff. People would not park on the side of Forest Road.
I don't know what either one of those questions. Could you more detail on the question?
I really can't, Paul. I'm not sure exactly. I think the first question is intended to say, it sounds like the selectmen are compelled by the warrant articles, obviously, to put some policies in place. So I think that the selectmen are responding and asking through the town manager staff to do that. So that's why this policy was developed. I think the selectmen are trying to do what's in the best interest of the voters, as reflected in the vote. Not to answer the question for you, but question two, I think that question is really about whether or not, I think what we've just talked about, that during the non-managed time, would Cary Beach be open or closed off to the public? And I think what we're hearing from the board clearly is that during the non-managed time, the gates would be open. parking lot would not be closed, so it would not result in parking along Forest Road, as this question sort of drives at. And I think Mary is off mute now, so she might be able to.
Yeah, go ahead, Mary. Please, welcome.
Mary?
Oh, Mary says her microphone is not working in the chat, so maybe that's the issue. But I hope I captured her questions. I think that's what she was asking about.
Chris, if I could, I can't respond to Mary's comments because I don't understand the question. So Christine, if I understood you clearly, your concern is, and we're going to focus on Albee Beach, that a whole bunch of people are going to drive their cars to Albee Beach between 7:30 and 8 o'clock in the morning. Let's assume 8 o'clock is the official opening time. And they're just going to park there. And they may or may not be ticketed, they may not have a badge on their car that says, I'm a resident of the town of Wolfeboro. Is that your concern?
Yes. So say there are 30 cars because somebody has managed to figure out the system and that's what they're doing. And say we can only take 50 cars in the parking lot. So that limits the 20 cars to the residents. So not saying they can't get there without parking, but I just want to know, how do you want me to handle it? Are we then calling the police department? Are they ticketing people? Like, how is this working?
You would send the police department down. If you look at our beach policy, which we have from, I think it is at 10 o'clock at night to 6 in the morning, you can't use the beaches. And the enforcement is done by the police department. So if we run a couple of weeks where we have this, they can come down, shortly after 8 or whenever they can in their system and go talk to those people. You do that, and I think there was in that ordinance, I'd have to go look, I think there was a way to find people, and we can do that. We're doing that. There's a mechanism to do that. Yes, I understand these Warren articles said that they wanted their beaches for the residents. But what the Warren article did not say is that they wanted times that that the residents couldn't get on the beaches. And that's what those closed gates. And I'm really clear about that because of the big commotion we had from residents who were not allowed on the beach in a hot day in May when they wanted to go down there. So that's that. So we're trying to, in essence, we're trying to meet all the residents' needs. One, to have the beaches so they're not overcrowded. Two, when we don't need it, they aren't as crowded, that the residents can come on without having a gate shut on them. So I think that that's important. I think you did a nice job of finding how you could help the businesses and the stickers and stuff. So that's my main issue.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I had a brief conversation with our beloved Chief Rondo, and I'm not real sanguine about asking our beach attendants to write parking tickets. I'm real supportive of the fact that our Wolfeboro Police Department, is a part of this conversation we're having, might want to show up at 8 o'clock in the morning or whatever time is designated and kind of look around, and if the parking lot's full, then and they don't have stickers on them, then they do what they have to do. I think the issue of people sneaking into, I shouldn't say sneaking into the beach, but showing up at the beach early in the morning, loading up the parking lot. If that's a problem, I think we have mechanisms and means to fix it. I think the problem we're trying to solve is we want to make sure that residents of the town of Wolfeboro, 7/24/365, can go to the beach. Period.
Christine, how are we going to deal with the people who come to that parking lot and want to walk the Bridge Falls path? Are we going to have those people park outside the gate? Because there are a certain number of people that do come, park their car, and walk that road. And we do have a section outside the gate that we could, maybe label for Bridge Falls path. But I think we're going to need to decide what we're going to do about them.
Yes, so we're just managing the parking in the beach. So if you're parking in the beach, if you're a resident, then you can park in the beach, whether you're using the trail or not. If you're a non-resident, you would have to park outside the beach, right? Because you wouldn't have that ticket. In the proposal I sent you, I did take pictures outside of Albee Beach, so you can see that area. I do think we need to develop it a little bit, because I would like a small area, because when a non-resident does come down during those peak hours that we are manning the gate, we are going to have to turn them around and have them go back out. So we are gonna, part of that area could be manned off, so we can do a turnaround per se, away that road is, and then we could designate some spots for parking. I also actually have spoken to the NIC as well, encouraging them to put a sign at their facility that says parking for patrons only, because my fear is if a lot of people are parking and then crossing 28, it's a dangerous situation. And it's not that they can't walk to the beach, but I don't think that is where we want them to be parking and walking to the beach for safety purposes. So I tried to just.
That sounds good.
We are in communication with NHDOT too, because I know that last year we had some issues with parking right along Route 28. And we want to be able to mitigate that, hopefully with some signage if possible. And so we're talking to them as well about that concern.
Right. If Dave Ford were here, he'd be telling you that's not a good thing to do, to have people crossing Route 28. Christine, you've said it, crossing Route 28,
right?
You know, your floaties in your hand and your kids in tow, running across Route 28 when the speed limit there is whatever it is, which is ridiculous. That's a bad idea. Not strategy.
So we've tried to think outside the box, and you know, did a lot of observations last year, made notes, got a lot of input from the guards who were at the beach, you know, dealing with it day in and day out, so you can kind of see what's going on, and try to capture everything, like what happens if someone shows up. We would encourage them to go to Lake Wentworth or to Brewster Beach. Those are their two options if they are from out of the area. So we don't want to just say no and push people away. We do want to help get them to another location. And having the having the stickers or whatever will help. Even at Albee Beach, I know some people are putting their kayaks in the water, so they're going to want to do that so they can go down and do it. So
okay, I'd like to kind of just pipe in here for a second here. I think we've had a lot of discussion about this. I think we said a lot of stuff in different ways, and you got a lot of feedback from the board here, I think, Christine and Matt and everybody. What I'd almost like to do is maybe put this on the agenda again for the next meeting to see if we come up, you know, now we all have some thoughts going and stuff, thinking about this, see if we come up with any other newer tweaks or whatever you want to call it toward the policy, and you know, talk about it again, because you know, we really have to the end of May to really get this in effect here, so we can easily talk about this again in our first meeting in May and still have time to get our policy in with all our, do we need to have public hearings, I guess, to put this policy in, or can we just do that at a regular scheduled meeting? I guess that's probably for Jim.
I think you can, as the board, I'll have to research it, but I think you have the ability to adopt the policy straight across.
I think it's because it was a warrant article. I think that gives it, if it wasn't, I think when we go to change the ordinance, then we would have to have a public hearing, but to put in policies, I think the warrant articles were what gives us that authority. I really would like us to take a look and come up with some thoughts about what we're going to do if we have to maintain social distancing this summer. Is there a way that we can open the beach and maintain social distancing? It will be a real challenge, but I think it's something we should have given some thought of and have looked at, because the water is going to be so important to everybody this summer.
Absolutely. Is everybody good with having this on the agenda for our next meeting again for discussion?
Fine with me.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Anything else we need to add into that, or we all set to move on?
Real quick question. Oh, sorry. I just wanted to say, are we good with the pass implementation, utilizing passes versus dump stickers? Or, I mean, you could use those too, but I think the passes would capture people who, for instance, at the hotels or whatever, who wouldn't have a dump sticker, or people who are in programs would need a sticker like that. Do we want to utilize both?
I'm comfortable with whichever works best for you guys.
Okay.
My input would be if you already have a solid waste transfer station sticker, you are a resident of Wolfeboro. And that should be a bona fide pass. If you need to get an incremental sticker because you don't have one of them, then you do what you got to do.
Okay.
I think, again, my point on this thing is we want to minimize the amount of incremental effort for the people who are residents of our town. And that's kind of where I come out on it. So if I have a transfer station sticker on my car, I got to get on the beach.
Which I paid $5 for.
That's the way they do it. Well, they do it. That's the way they do it in Moltenboro. Yeah, it's $5. It's the way they do it in Moltenboro. You get a little thing on your car that says transfer station and beach. And so, you know, Christine, whatever you think is the right way, you know, come back to us. But my sense is, if I've already paid my whatever the heck the number is, $5 for a transfer station sticker, those guys up at the transfer station have already vetted me.
And I agree with that. I think our concern would be if you're only allowed to buy, I don't know, is it 2 stickers per household? 3. So then if you have people with 4 vehicles, then it's like, well, I don't have it, you know, my parents have it, and then we're just letting it slide. And it's not that I don't want to be accommodating, but the problem is when people start seeing that, then everybody thinks it's a free-for-all. So I think you do have to have some sort of, that's why I think if we do, you know, hey, I only have 3 dump stickers, but I want to use, I want my child to be able to go who's 16 years old, and they have their sticker that will get them in the beach, then they have that. And that way, everyone who comes through that gate during those peak hours has the correct permit.
I'm going to be disrespectful to the people who have 4 cars in their family and say, think ahead. That'd be my point.
Yeah, let's move on.
Yeah, Paul, I think one of the things that we were trying to capture with that, with all due respect, is people who have motorcycles, people who have sports cars who may not be taking their trash to solid waste in a sports vehicle. That's the intent of that.
Yeah, then they can go get a sticker.
Yeah. Easy for you.
I love Dave.
Okay, so
now that he's got his mic working, he's not complaining about T-Mobile. It's great.
Okay, so we're good to move on now?
Yep. Thanks,
Okay.
Christine.
Yes. Thank you, Christine, for all the work into that. We'll keep moving on it.
Thanks.
Okay, next on our agenda, assessing revaluation, full statistical contract. Mr.
So-
Pinio, are you going to present this to us?
Yep. So we've received the contract back from New Hampshire Department of Revenue Administration for the 2020 reevaluation. The contractor will be MRI. They are within the budget. There is no provision right now within the state to not perform reevaluation based on COVID-19. We have finalized the bond. I actually just received the bond yesterday. So we have that in place. And for all intents and purposes, we're planning on holding a kickoff meeting, hopefully next week. And then we'll get the ball rolling. You know, we still are on the hook for doing this for the year 2020 based on 5 years since the last reevaluation has been done. I believe you all have seen the contract, and the only questions that came back were relative to the timeline. And they were going to be able to extend that timeline to meet the thresholds that were set forward. The other option that we will have, based on social distancing, we may have to use this type of platform for them to be able to hold the hearings going forward. Other than that, at this point, any questions that I have from the board, I would be happy to be able to answer them for you.
Anybody have any questions or comments? Okay, thank you.
Seeing none, the contract will be forwarded to you for electronic signature, and I'll keep you informed as to where we are with the kickoff meeting and launching the revaluation.
Okay, thank you. Next on the agenda, other business. Do you have any other items for that? Why don't we jump down to committee reports then? I want to start with you, Linda, if you'd like.
Sure. I attended 2 Emergency Operations Center meetings, obviously all virtual. I also hosted a milfoil joint board meeting, and we were talking about what to do with the dash unit and giving some, want to make contact with the Winnipesaukee Association to see if they might be interested in having that vote. So Ken Marshner and I are going to try to meet with Pat Tarpey. Today I am a member of the Pop Whalen, Friends of Pop Whalen. We had a meeting today, and they're moving forward to get some figures and stuff together for the CIP. And last week I had a chamber board meeting. That's all I have.
Thank you. Paul.
I've attended a couple of these emergency operation meetings. I'm on the team as Linda is. And we said it before, and I'll say it again, these folks, our hospital team, our health officer, everybody, it's pretty dang good. It's amazing what our town has done to pull together. And there's too many people out there that we need to say thank you to. So I'm gonna run the risk of singling out one organization, at least for tonight, and I'll do others next week. If you haven't seen the Wolfeboro Mask Makers on Facebook, go visit with them. These people have sewn, cobbled together, gotten donations from Ocean State job lots, gotten free elastic masks. They've gotten a whole bunch of stuff, and they've produced well in excess of 1,000 masks for the people of our town and for the people of other towns. So go on Facebook. I'm not here promoting Facebook, but go on Facebook and this is what humanity is all about, and I deeply appreciate it. And I'll also give a big shout out to our town people, our town workers that are they're out there doing things that we need them to do, and we all want them to do, trying to do it in a safe way. So that's my observations and my committee reports. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Dave Senecal.
Yeah, I had one meeting, the Zoning Board of Adjustment met to move some of the hearings forward to a date certain, and it was pretty short, but it got something accomplished anyway.
Thank you, Dave. Dave Bowers.
Working on regional history, including the ironworks in Alton, and having a good time.
Thank you, Dave. Last week we did have a planning. Oh, were you still going, Dave?
All done. I'm finished.
Okay, thank you. I had last week we had a planning board hearing. We used the same platform as this here, the go-to meeting. Same thing that Dave said with the ZBA. We moved the public hearings we had scheduled to a date certain. And there was a community TV meeting this morning done remotely, which I wasn't able to attend due to work. And we did postpone this month's Friends of Liberty Museum. We postponed that, and we'll talk about that next month to see what we're going to do with that. So that was it for me. Town managers report.
Thank you very much. Just been busy working with the emergency management team, working with town staff to look at projects coming down the pike and what we may or may not be able to hold off on. We're having conversations about revenues, expenses, and just ensuring that we're able to stay afloat going forward, not knowing what is going to be happening. We're working diligently to stay in compliance with ensuring that we meet the governor's orders, which I believe we are at this point, and just trying to keep on top of everything that's changing every day at this point. That's pretty much the bulk of what I have for you. The only other thing is to continue encouraging our citizens to do the right thing out there, social distance, good hygiene, and if you're out in public, please try to wear a mask. If you have questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me at the town manager's office or anyone in our emergency response team to help you out or give you information in these very unique times. Really, that's all I've got for you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Questions from the press. Is Alyssa with us here tonight?
Yes. Here I am, even with a picture. I was just wondering if you want to encourage public comment on the beach policies, could you put the draft proposal in as simple a form as you can, perhaps on the rec department Facebook page or the town Facebook page? The reason I say that is because I can write this up in an article that would be in next Thursday. And if people sometimes get on social media, I notice, and they're all chattering, but they don't share their comments. And I'm wondering if you had a Facebook page or could say, give a number for them to call or to email with their comments. Then you would hear them before the next discussion and before the final policy on the beach. Just an idea.
Yeah, I guess I'd kind of bounce that off of Jim and Matt to see what their thoughts would be on that.
Yeah, we can discuss that in-house. My only concern is we're going to get a lot of feedback, positive, negative, and filtering that feedback is going to be extremely difficult. I think what we may be able to do instead would be to put a poll out looking at what the support for the article may or may not be, or the policy is written. But we can discuss that in-house, and I would hand it to Matt to see if he has anything further to say.
I would, I guess, urge caution in whatever approach we ultimately use, that we aren't trying to relitigate what the voters have already decided. I think they've given direction. I think it's totally appropriate to ask for comments on the draft if there are specific technical comments, but I would just be cautious about relitigating the question of should we have a residents-only beach restriction, because I think that decision has been made in the voting booth already. But I do think there might be some value to just getting a second set of eyes, a third, fourth, or fifth, or sixth. I think that's valid, and we could certainly post it on the town website at least for review.
This is Paul. Maybe I shouldn't chime in, but I'll do it anyway. I agree with Matt. We're not asking for a revote of the warrant article. It's done. I think what we're in implementation mode. And if the ambition here is to get the best implementation model, then that's fine. We should get some input on that. But whether people like it or not like it, that's done. Voters voted. So that's where I am. Thanks.
Yeah, yes, very clearly it would be on the implementation. I don't know if someone actually might have something helpful to add to the conversation.
Okay. Any other questions or comments, Alyssa?
Also,
Okay, thank you. Guess public input will be next. Just out, do we have anybody online with us tonight, Matt, or were there any emails or anything that came in for public input?
Mr. Chairman, I know that Amy was managing the inbox. I think she forwarded along any emails that we received, but I know that Mary is having some technical difficulties. So I just wanted to read her three most recent comments for those who may be watching at home and don't have access to the chat. And the first is, Paul, it was when we were discussing what her questions meant. She said, Paul, my question is, what is the selectmen's opinion to the vote on Cary and Albee Beach? Are you in agreement with those who voted that day? Number two is more of a comment, which I think is a fair one, and that is social distancing is not conducive to people getting to staff who are supposed to provide a pass, that if we are still under social distancing orders, it could be challenging to sell, or not sell, but provide passes to residents. So we'll have to come up with some mitigation policy for that. And then third was, I think, a statement saying you do have the responsibility to respond to a vote prior to setting new policy, correct? My comments / questions are a reflection of what has come to me. Thank you for your help. Those were her comments. And I did receive a bit odd, but just one question about the beach policy via text message from someone that I think was watching at home about how we were going to define or sort of deal with who is a resident. And hopefully if we do post the policy, there are 3 determinants in a resident, whether it's a property tax bill, a utility bill, or a valid driver's license displaying a Wolfeboro residence. Any of those 3 ID forms will work, and certainly if there's an extenuating circumstance, I think it'll be handled on a case-by-case basis. We do want to be flexible in the event of unique living situations, but that is defined clearly within the policy.
Okay, thank you, Matt. Okay, seeing as we have no other public input,
Mr. I do have one
this meeting and then come back into non-public.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, before we do that, I do have one question that I'd like to pose to the board. Right now, the way the calendar falls, we're not scheduled to meet for 3 weeks. Given that there's some talk that the governor may be issuing some more orders on Friday, I think it makes some sense. We've got to make some decisions relative to what we're going to be doing with some things this summer. I'm kind of considering the concept that maybe we should meet on the 29th of April. I've got a couple of meetings with staff scheduled next week to discuss some of these issues. So I'd like to consider to hold a board meeting on the 29th of this month.
On my end.
Because of those issues coming down the pike.
I'd be good with that.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and schedule a meeting for the 29th. And then as well, we will do one on the first week of May as well.
Okay, that sounds good. So getting back to my other question, do we need to vote to go into non-public and then adjourn, or do we adjourn first and then just reconvene a second meeting here?
So you need to vote to go into non-public, at which point I believe the entire board received the information regarding the non-public room. I will close out this meeting and I will open up the non-public room. So yes, we do need a motion to go into non-public.
Mr. Vice
I
Chair.
do not have that information. I don't have the information.
It came this afternoon. You didn't get an email?
No, I did not.
Dave, when we get off of this call, just call my cell phone and I will give you the information.
Thank you.
I move that we go into non-public, please.
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Paul, second by Linda to go into non-public. Do a roll call vote. Linda Murray,
Yes?
Paul O'Brien,
Yes, sir.
Dave Senical,
Yes.
Dave Bowers,
Yes.
Brad Harriman, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Good night, everybody.